All right. I think we're up and running. Just going to confirm here. Yep, it looks like we're good. Starting a couple minutes early. Hope everybody's doing good. I am probably going to be fairly low energy today. Um, I've been a little sick again. I thought I had given my daughter my sickness, and then my wife got it, and they were both like puking, and I wasn't. I just had a cold, like a really bad cold for 3 or 4 days. But it looks like what they had was different because I got it yesterday, and I was puking my brains out. Actually, just the night before yesterday. So I'm very low energy right now. Jesse Solana, Wind Moon. Actually, it looks like Solana's finding support. We should probably look at that. I did want to. Today's going to be a mixed bag of nuts. I'm going to be talking about things that are kind of bearish looking. I'm going to be talking about things that are bullish looking. Again, the government didn't shut down. If you're not aware of this, on Friday, we had some rumors of a pending corporate action with Mara because of Robinhood and just a notification they had out. It disappeared this morning, so I don't know what's going on there, but I don't see it. MicroStrategy is added to the Nasdaq today. Are they buying more Bitcoin too? I don't know. Maybe. Michael Saylor. If I look over here real quick, let me just do this, and maybe I should just use my bookmarks. Sorry, I'm so tired. Didn't sleep a lot. But if we look over here, we got Saylor Tracker, December 22nd. The orange dots on SaylorTracker.com are motivational. Did Michael Saylor buy more Bitcoin, or is he? I'm guessing yes. I'm guessing yes. Also, Fear and Greed, we're still sitting at 28. Where is that Fear and Greed? Here we go. Oh, I don't want to play any games. Thank you. Fear and Greed, 28. Still a really low number. And if we look at timeline-wise, guys, again, this is kind of near the bottoms of what we've seen for a while here, going back for most of this year. And if I look at the broader range, I kind of showed this in a post the other day. I don't know if I'll have it right here. There we go. So I showed this in a post today. When you're down this low, it's been a buy here, right? Oh, no, thank you. It's been a buy down here, right? It's been a buy over here. It's been a buy here. So every time in a buy over here. The only time it wasn't buys is over here when we were in a downtrend in 2021 and early 2022, right over here, March 2022, because we were still kind of heading lower. You still had a nice, jaunt up though. So this still looks very bullish to me. We're going to go over my portfolio real quick. I'm probably going to be selling Bitfarms today. I just wanted to give people a heads up. I'm going to be selling Bitfarms. It has nothing to do really with Bitfarms. It's my lowest conviction play in the Bitcoin space. It's about 4% of my portfolio. As you guys know, I did a bunch of buying on Friday, buying the dip pretty heavy. I'm going to be selling Bitfarms, probably a decent chunk, if not all of it today, just because, again, it's my lowest conviction bet. It's 4% of my portfolio. And as I said, I've got bills to pay at the beginning of the year. So I'll probably be exiting that trade and just sticking with the things I really care about the most. And right now, guys, it's mostly, MicroStrategy, Tesla. I've got a huge amount in Tesla, over $2 million, probably closer to 2.1 or 2.2 as of this morning. And so I'm going to be liquidating that, I think, because it's the one. I mean, like all the other miners have done convertible bond debt offerings. They're either expanding like crazy, have a bunch of Bitcoin, have the AI, HPC play. This one just doesn't, and so I just don't care. Lusty Picker, hey Jesse, did you hear about the honey scam? I heard about it, but I don't know why I should care. I don't know why I should care. Can you tell me why I should care? So why is that going to be impactful to PayPal? Again, I saw a bunch of people passing around a video that I don't know. Again, I don't know how that is in a measurable way really means much of anything. I also don't know how it's a scam. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing stuff. You guys educate me why PayPal's going to fall apart because of the Honey app and how it, pays influencers. I don't know. You guys let me know. I don't really care though, unless somebody can tell me why. I just don't know that I care. All right, let's see what else we got here. I think that's going to be it. We're gonna rock and roll here. We're gonna get started pretty quick. So I'm gonna jump over. Let me see here real quick. From Page, CleanSpark has achieved 37.5 exahash in operating hash rate, surpassing 2024 guidance and announced 11 minutes ago. Cool. Let me, I'll pull that up real quick and just repost it. Thank you for that. And again, as usual, guys, sorry I'm so low energy today. I'm just like the opposite of my Friday session, but, puking your brains out will do that to you. But let's see, where did they have that? Where did they have that? Was that on CleanSpark's site? Let me go over here. Yeah, you said it was. Okay. All right, cool. We'll just share that out. That's good. It's good. It's good stuff. Accelerates guidance for 50 exahash expected in first half of 2025. Okay, cool. That ain't bad. Again, I think CleanSpark's a decent company. They're going a different route with. They're not buying Bitcoin. I don't know if that's the best decision, but I do respect it, and I think having a different play in the Bitcoin mining space also too can kind of set you apart for other investors that might be interested in that path. So I don't hate it. I actually think CleanSpark's pretty decent. Oh, hey, I did want to cover something. Let's look at charts real quick. So before we get down the bookmark thing, we're going to look at a number of charts. I wanted to caution people about this. Or at least talk to it because I saw a post about it. So the S&P has done this, right? You can see how it's just basically went up at an accelerated pace since about October of 2023. Again, we got a launch where we were in this cup and handle, beautiful cup and handle, measured move for the cup and handle. We should probably draw that out. So there's the cup. And then let's just move this over here. So the measured move, we're actually, depending on how you weigh it, so if we go all the way down here, I don't know, it's still pretty close. If we go, yeah, it's still pretty close. So technically we're above the measured move for this, right? We broke out over here. We're above it. So there's a reason why I want to talk to that real fast. MicroStrategy announcement. Did they just buy more? Of course they did. All right, let's take a look here. Let's pull up that post real quick, and then we'll get back to the S&P. Let's look. It's probably Michael Saylor's website. I should just pull up Saylor. It's easier that way. All right. Of course they did. That does not surprise me at all. Only 561 million. Just a little tiny purchase. I do have a graph, or I have a post about that too that I want to talk to. Just the sheer amount of Bitcoin being consumed by ETFs and Michael Saylor, and how much is left to be mined. It's insane. And then the amount that governments are consuming, also insane. There's a lot to talk about. Total cost, 561 million at 106K each Bitcoin, announced just now. Cool. So again, we made the measured move on our uptick here, guys. So the S&P, there's one thing you need to note. The S&P has been looking at bearish divergence on the RSI since about March of 2024. So that could try and pull us down. That is, 9 months? But here's the problem with that. So yes, we have bearish divergence on the RSI. Could it tick up and go higher? Yes, it could though. Because if we look at times where we had that bearish divergence, like look over here, 2013, you could see this bearish divergence right here, right? So look at this, all the way down to here, all the way down to there. So the bearish divergence lasted almost 2.5 years while the market went higher. And you could see, like if you were around here in 2015, you could see that this thing was looking toppy. But look at how much it climbed from down here to up here. And then it started the top, and then it rolled over, and then it had a drop down to the bottom of the range in the weekly time frame. It was a good buying opportunity. It did have another drop, though. And again, another good buying opportunity. And then it was off to the races again for years. So I want to caution people, RSI divergence. And let's look over here. We had some over here, too. This is technically probably right here. There was divergence going to the downside. It was a quick drop. It was a real quick drop. And where we had an accelerated bounce, and then we went down. So here's the deal. So can we go lower? Yes, we can. We could maybe even go to the .618 again one more time. But 6 or 9 months of bearish divergence historically doesn't mean a lot. It could literally just keep going up. So there's things to consider there. I also want to point this out. We're going to actually let's keep going here. So Bitcoin, this chart, depending on how you want to look at it, could be bearish or bullish. It does have divergence. It has divergence if we go back over here that started around November of 2024 on the 4-hour that wants to pull it down, and it did, right? And then, but if we look at the weekly time frame on this one, if we look at the weekly, Again, there's a divergence that probably started March of 2024. So about like the S&P, only this one went down quicker. And one of the reasons why I believe this one went down quicker, and I believe it might be finding support right now, but there's no guarantees. This pattern, again, I love it did not do what I said it was going to do. I thought maybe we stood a chance of getting higher quickly. And we started to. We had this tweezer bottom that kind of looked like an inverse head and shoulder. We popped above here, kind of did a fake out, got up into the 99, couldn't hold it, dropped straight down. Testing support. If you zoom in over here, you can see how we're testing support on this downward trend line that goes all the way back to whatever date this is. What date is that? November 2020. Yeah, so about a month, a little over, yeah, really close to a month. So this chart, if we find support here and we can get back above the 200 moving average, then we're good. If we get up to this 200 moving average, if we can even make it that high around the 98.5 range, and then we fail again, it's not great because it starts to look like a bear flag. So you really want to break up here and kind of grind and establish support. I'd almost, from a technical standpoint on Bitcoin, guys, I would almost like to see this thing just grind down here for a while and test where it's turning into a bull flag after this big tweezer bottom over here. I would almost like to see it test low and stay down here and then make its run. That's what I would like to see. I think it's just going to be a better technical setup. But again, we'll see if it does it or not. But that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Ugh, I feel so yucky right now. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to check the temp in my house and maybe raise it just a hair, so I feel a little warmer, not so sick. I did want to point out something else real quick. And again, sorry for the low energy level. Today, Tesla getting a nice bounce. Tesla, guys, I'm so excited about Tesla. I'm just so excited about it. If you guys haven't tried out the latest versions of version 13, I think this little image does it well. Oh, 1 second here. So it says Tesla owners that experienced FSD 13.22 this weekend waiting for markets to open. Look at this guy. It's like a peacock. And I love those shorts. But I honestly feel the same way about Tesla right now. I'm super excited about it. The holiday update, guys, let's just look here real quick. This is a thing of beauty. Look at this. So, release notes, FSD 13.22, update to data sharing for audio inputs, camera visibility detection, Rainbow Road for the Cybertruck, Tesla app and Apple Watch, save dash cam and Sentry mode clips to phone, auto shift between drive and reverse upgraded for the 3, Sirius XM for the 3Y and Cybertruck, set arrival energy at destination. So you could set a level where you want a certain amount of energy. Like I like to have it at least like 10, 12% just to feel really comfortable. And so if you set that, then you don't have to worry about like reconfiguring the ride because you want to ensure that you have plenty of energy when you get there. So you could just set that now, and then it'll readjust the places that it stops based upon how much energy you want to see by the time you get there. I think that's great. Search along route with estimated detour times, precipitation and map weather. It shows the map weather like you're looking at the fucking weather channel on your screen with your navigation so that you can see weather in real time. How cool is that? How many cars do this? Weather at destination. While navigating your car will display the destination's weather in a weather pop-up and notify you of any significant weather differences between your current location and the final destination. What car can do this? Rear cross traffic alert, custom wraps, and license plate configuration. So I'll be able to update mine to represent the cool wrap that I have on my Cybertruck. Rear camera improvements, larger in zoom. Tune-in improvements, rear arcade, Santa mode in the back now for the Cybertruck. So my kid will be able to play video games in the back now. Schedule a light show for the Tesla app. Boomerang food game, whatever the hell that is. Use the media card to play and pause any active video content playing through the browser or a theater. There's just so much stuff on here. Maintenance summary, adjust passenger seat for controls. There's so many cool things coming out in this. It's just a laundry list. I won't go over the entire thing. But this is just amazing. Tesla's amazing. I've never owned a car where I'm excited to drive it, but they're just so great. So I think this pop right here, guys, I think is a sign of Tesla. There's a reason, like I said, I'm going to be selling I'm just going to pull this over here. So I'm going to be selling. I'm going to be selling probably my bit farms, even though I've lost about 18% on it since I bought it. All in all, it's just my least conviction. It's not like, and here bit farms could do really great. Don't get me wrong. It's a small cap. It could do really well. I just don't give a shit. And I need to pull in some cash to pay bills. Ignore this total gain loss up here. It's not really like I've sold so many things and repositioned that all the pretty green that I had in here has kind of disappeared. But again, my position, my accounts are doing really good. Last I checked, I think I'm at like 5.7 or 5.8 million. I'll update that. I was going to do it yesterday morning, but again, I was puking and other stuff. I was just having a bad day. So I'll try and get that updated. But I outside of the need to pay bills, and I don't know, maybe some fear that global liquidity pulls us down. I think that I don't know. I'm very excited about this next year and positioning. I do think though that January, I don't know if we get our Santa Claus rally. We'll see if I mean it's really kind of late. If it's going to happen, it's kind of late. It needs to start happening now. But we'll see if that happens. I haven't heard anything, guys, from Bunstrat, FS Insight. Their last post was December 20th on Friday. So I don't know if they're just taking time off. But they haven't really updated their analysis since that time. So we'll see if they change their thoughts. They might conveniently just wait until after the holiday and then be like, "Hey, it didn't happen. This is why." I kind of get that. Sometimes you don't want to have to adjust your thesis in midway. But again, so I'm going to be selling some of that. I'm very excited though. This is just my main account. I've got more in other accounts, but Tesla's going to be just crushing it. Also, I get questions all the time about my Tesla calls and why I'm not going out of the money. I just don't want to dial up risk. I told you guys I don't want additional leverage. I've got about a 2x play right now on my Tesla calls that are in the money. Could I jump out to further dated ones? And if Tesla goes up a lot, make a lot more money? Yes. But I'm also I'm pushing out a longer time frame. I'm already in July or June of 2026. Yeah, June of 2026. And I want a multiplier to Tesla. I don't want a lot of risk in Tesla. So as if Tesla for some reason kept going down, I'd probably buy more of this. But I also don't want to like push out the dollar amount a lot and go to like a $600 target for June. Just because again, threats from like a war or any other number of things could temporarily pull us back. So I don't know. Again, I'm just not trying to incur additional leverage right now. I would rather just get a 2x multiplier Tesla, something I love, and I have like 2.12, well, probably today 2.2, maybe more $1 million, and I'm okay with that. Let me try and get caught up in comments. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. I'm trying to get through a lot in a shorter period of time, so I don't like puke on this stream. Don't want to puke on my nice mic. It's really good. Theo says, "Hey Jesse, my neighbors have a Cybertruck. The more I see them, the more I want one. We can play the new road game. How many flip offs can we?" Yeah, you will get flipped off a lot. I usually try to get flipped off once a day. Sometimes if I'm lucky, it can be 2 or 3. I actually had a couple do it the other day. I thought that was great. He had to drive the car, so he only gave me one middle finger because he had to hold the steering wheel because his car doesn't drive itself. But his girlfriend was nice enough to give me 2 hands with middle fingers. So I got 3 out of that one. So that was kind of a bonus. And then I had some woke bitch with purple hair earlier in the day give me the middle finger too while driving by. So, that's kind of like 4 in a day. At least that's the way I'm counting it. So that was pretty great. All right, let's keep going here. All right, Danny sorry, I'm so tired. Good morning, Jesse. Last night there was a macro minute update from Tom. Was there? Am I just not looking at the right place? Maybe I should look. Oh, you're right. Or no, Sunday. Oh no, there was. There's a new one. I sometimes you have to hit like the latest research, otherwise you're like in a subsection. What were the details of it? I don't want to play his videos because it's his content. I kind of want to avoid doing that. I like Tom. But did he give us any updates? Sorry, I didn't see it, guys. I'm such a mess today. Could you please check on Hood? I can check on Hood. Yeah, no shit. It's such a stereotypical thing. The woman had purple hair, and she obviously hates Elon Musk. So, the funny thing is I don't get coal rolled as much anymore. I think those guys are starting to like not hate Elon Musk, but maybe they still do. The car people probably still hate him a little bit because they don't want to see the EVs taken over, and I get it. Oh, hey, also too, economic data. I'm just all over the place. We do have data points coming out today, guys. It's pretty light. At 7:30, in about 11 minutes, we have the Chicago National Fed Activity Index, and then at 9, we have the CB Consumer Confidence report, and that's really going to be kind of it. There's Fed Treasury purchases, 0 to 1 years. That'll kind of be interesting to see, and then just other bill-related auctions. Nothing too crazy though. We need female crash dummies. The peasants will be flipping us off when we're flying around too. That's probably true. You're right. Dario, good morning, Master Chief. You are just going to sell BITF, and what more? You will sell all the weak points. It's probably just BITF. Again, I got bills to pay, guys. I do that 0% 18-month credit card offer thing. I've been doing that for about a little over a decade, probably close to a decade, and so I float debt with basically like a 2% APR, and it's like some of the cheapest debt you can get, and then I have to pay it off at some point. And I've decided that January is a great time to do that. I need to get ready for my new house with the indoor pool, and so I need to get when you're floating a bunch of credit card debt, your credit score looks horrific. But the second you pay off all the stuff, about a month or two later, you're back in the 800s. And so I've got to pay off a bunch of debt, and that's my goal. So I'm just going to get rid of BITF. I'm getting rid of my lowest conviction play so that I can pay off those bills. I'm not really looking to sell a lot more. I know maybe there's a reason to do that because of global liquidity, and I will actually, guys, in a little bit. I'm going to cheat here with my buddy Michael Howell from Capital Wars. He had a post from the 21st called Dancing Near the Door, and he talks about liquidity and a bunch of other factors. I'm probably going to play this one. I'm not going to normally do that, but I want to just give you guys an idea of where we're sitting and the fact that there might be a bump in the road come January, maybe into early February, the inauguration. Initially, I was thinking maybe we just kind of rock it up a little bit. We get a sell-off into January right when people are trying to do the same thing because they weren't trading in like in an IRA or whatever, and they've got a lot of gains, and so they want to wait until January to sell. I do think we're going to have downward pressure in January. I think that's going to be healthy for the markets. I don't think it's the end of the world, even though I see all the people talking about the end of the world happening. If you want to find that stuff on YouTube, you can find that. All the finance guys are just like that have been telling you for the last, since the pandemic, that the world was coming to an end. I've made a lot of money off that since that time. I went from a low of 167,000 to a high of 7 million. But those guys were telling you the whole time the world was coming to an end. I don't think that's happening, but I do think that there is downside risk in January. So people should be aware of it. I'm probably just going to ride it out. I look at it this way. What I'll do for the Bitcoin stuff, I'll probably just leave it. Maybe I'll use some Tesla shares for that if we get really low. And again, we don't have to. We could just keep going up. I don't know. But what I'd probably do is sell some shares and then buy calls on Tesla. If we keep going down, since I de-levered, I can just re-lever, right? I can just get back into here again. And so if we had an issue where for some reason Tesla was dropping, I would probably use that as a source of funds to buy the dip. Tesla is my highest conviction play, guys. If you don't watch James Invest Answers, his thesis is very similar to my own. I think that Tesla is going to be the number one play in the years ahead. Don't get me wrong, I love Bitcoin, but there's still the 4-year cycle. And so I think after Bitcoin has peaked, I think the thing you really want to be in the most is going to be Tesla. Maybe a little bit of cash, maybe some TLT if it looks like we're paying off our debts, and then, other asymmetric bets. Cool, maybe some asymmetric bets for insurance for downside protection, but I don't know. I'm just going to ride the storm. That's my take on it. You guys, do you as usual, but that's my take. Let me read some more comments here. Let's see here. Danny Guo, same message from Tom. Trump put and hawkish cut equals a longer cutting cycle. Fed still aiming for six cuts longer term. Yeah, so I still feel the same way too as Tom Lee. I think that the Trump put, a hawkish cut, but really, is it? We still cut. So I don't know. I think we were going to pause anyway in January, so I'm not too worried about it. Always learning. Any thoughts about Elon following Palantir? Yeah, I think that's great, actually. Let's pull up Amit's post here. I don't know. I'm torn on Palantir, man. I just I was obviously wrong on it, right? Like I was wrong at 20 that it was going to be getting closer to a top and maybe taking a breather. I was right in regard to the fact that the chart did trend sideways for a while and it was right to get out of my leaps and I made 600K off of it. That was all good, but I probably should have converted the stock in a lot of it. Even though I did make money in a bunch of other things too. Just I would have done better in Palantir. But I like all the relationships that are being created with Palantir. And I don't know if it's on. Has anybody got it on here? Let me just pull up Amit. Amit. Well, whatever. So the gist is that it looks like Elon Musk has started now following Palantir. I think Palantir is going to be a powerhouse within the military industrial complex in the future. I think the old guys are disappearing, just kind of like Tesla. And I think Palantir is coming in. I was also looking at other companies like Red Cat. Um, I don't know. I might buy some of them. I need to do more research. But Red Cat is very fascinating. They're affiliated with Palantir now, and they're trying to get rid of GPS built into a bunch of their drone systems and use Palantir technology for it. And they were talking about how you guys might not know this, but I follow war. I follow war a lot, and so I followed the war in Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia. I followed, between Gaza and Israel. I followed like all around the world, and especially in Ukraine and Russia. And drones are obviously the future of war. Even aircraft carriers, guys, they're just not going to be as big of a thing in the future. And so there's companies that I'm starting to find. I was talking a little bit about how China wants to go to war. I don't know if Xi can. Their economy, they're just falling apart. But the thing that I find most interesting is there's companies that I think could make you a small fortune, and they're going to be in the military complex because I only see military budgets increasing. I just worry about Palantir because it just has went up so much already, and I don't even know who's got the higher forward PE right now, Palantir or Tesla. Let's just take a look here. Quick segue. 160 almost for the forward PE. 158.33 for Palantir. That's pretty juicy, but again, with a PE ratio of 407, that's pretty much like you better perform perfectly. If they have a down quarter, the stock will just get butchered. So Tesla looks cheap. Their PE ratio is 115 versus 400. So I don't know. I can't recommend Palantir when you can get Tesla for 115. But I do wonder about other companies though. I wonder about other companies, and I'm getting very interested in other companies. So that might be something where again I need to spend more time in trying to figure out what rises along with Palantir because I do think that they'll be a powerhouse. And maybe there's some other companies that are smaller caps that we could pick up along the way. I don't even know that Red Cat company. Let me see if they even have an income yet. I just watched a video from them and I was super impressed by their CEO. I saw that Friday this thing was up 18%. They're just burning tons of money. I do know their revenue is going to increase soon. So 6 million, 3 million. They got a bunch of contracts, but they're losing 12. Cash flow is getting better though. Low on, so still doing a lot of the stuff that I don't like, early stage stuff, but their stock has went up a lot. So it's one of those where I just can't recommend it here. I'm probably going to start tracking it, but, again, just look at this here. So it was $1 and now it's like 12 or 13. So I don't know. There's a lot baked into this one already, but I do think there's other opportunities out there that I'm excited about. James NG, hey Jesse, is best to keep more cash on hand for future movement. I expect slow market days. I don't think it's a bad idea. If you guys want to be more conservative than me, I do think that it might be smart to keep more cash. RCO, ARCEO, when you do that, are you just paying the minimum payment each month? Yeah, you only pay, so you basically just pay the minimum payment every month for whatever time frame you have for your agreement, and then I pay it off within that time frame. Again, I don't recommend taking out debt, guys. It's probably a horrible thing. I'm not a financial advisor anyway, so I mean, whatever. I'm just telling you my story, but it does give you a way to leverage debt. and probably one of the cheapest ways I've been able to find. I just wouldn't use it to buy zero dated calls. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even use it for leaps at all because they're so, I mean, calls are options at all because, again, there's risk with them. And nothing in this market is super cheap right now. It's just not. So, but I do use these things in really down markets. I'll use these things as tools to be. And for a while there, you got to remember, guys, for over 4 years, it's only the last half a year where I've made any money from social media. That was never my intent. So I've had to just survive. And so using cheap debt and then paying it off when markets go up and then acquiring more of it when markets go down, or just to be able to survive with 4 years of no income, having to pay for my expenses, my wife's, my in-laws, my parents, and many other people. It's just one of those things where it helped me. It helped me not have to pull from my investments, which was great. But yeah, all you do is make zero. All you do is just make the minimum payment, and so that makes it a little bit easier. All right, so we do have 1 minute, guys, until the economic data. I'll probably start pulling that up over here, and we'll probably look at some of these other countries too. Barack says, "Good morning, greetings from Turkey. What's up, bud? What's your price target for Tesla January 2026? January 2026. I don't know. I think by the calls that I have, I think 600 to 900, or by January 2026, I think still 600 to 900 too is very possible. I think Tesla has a lot of room to grow. I think that people are really underestimating the impact of Tesla's full self-driving software and the robotics division that's getting born. So I think 6 to 900 is a pretty easy number in my opinion. Um, and that's pretty high from where we are right now. And my 2030 target is 3,000 to 5,000, but that's kind of like my conservative range, not including any splits that might occur. Always learning, Jesse. Can you speak about what you expect for CleanSpark in the coming days and weeks? I can't about coming days and weeks. That's too hard to say. Let me just do this real quick. So, did we get our data? Chicago Fed National Activity Index down negative 0.12. It was supposed to be down negative zero point 0.1, so pretty much in line. Let's see what the trend looks like here. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really tell us much outside of it's been more depressed than anything. So I don't know. And again, this is a monthly statistic. I like it. I like accumulations. I don't like point systems up and down. I don't think it gives you as clear of a signal. I don't think I can change that. Not on here. Value. Yeah, because this is just, yeah, so all I can get is change and change percentage based off the value. So I don't know. Let's read it though. Let's see what they have. What is their summary at the top? It says Chicago National Fed, United States, 0 points, reaching an all-time high. Yeah, so this isn't too interesting. Not really getting a lot there. So we have consumer confidence at 9. CleanSpark, yeah, let me just come over here real quick. So again, it's all depends on what Bitcoin does, guys. That's going to be the big thing here. And if we look over at Bitcoin right now, still trying to find that bounce. I actually like what it's doing right now, though. I hope it just goes down on that line. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, I hope it just keeps trending down along here, trying to establish a base so that we launch higher. I actually think that would be more bullish. But let's just look at CleanSpark. So here's one of the things I like about CleanSpark. We closed our gap. So we're done with that bullshit, right? Now, for risk in my portfolio, some of the biggest risks I still have, because I do have leverage, I still have it on PayPal. I just started adding a little bit with Tesla. I'm not even worried about that. But I have PayPal, 427,000 in this account, probably about 460 or 470 between both. And then also CleanSpark is 372. So I've got a bunch on this for leverage. And then ArcG. This is all my leverage right now, are these accounts. So they're really the only thing where I'm still leveraged. I got rid of, what was it, 3 million, 2.3 million? I don't even remember the number anymore. But I got rid of a bunch of leverage last week. And so I'm feeling pretty good. If we drop, I'll probably just end up buying more of a lot of these things. I don't know with CleanSpark, though. I'd probably buy very, very slow, or maybe even just buy stock in case this turned to dust. I don't think it will. I think there's plenty of time for this thing to go up and to sell out of it and buy stock. Between now and July. I think that's a lot of time. I think 7 months is a lot of time in the Bitcoin world. And I think 7 months from now, I'd be super surprised if we weren't at least 150,000 to 200,000 on Bitcoin. So you'd have a time to be able to leave these positions. But I mean, how much further can CleanSpark go? It really has no gaps to fill outside of. Are there any other gaps? There are no. Right here. There's a gap right here at $7. I don't see how that happens. Um, and then one over here. So there isn't really any place for CleanSpark to go but up. Could it, by some freakish nature, go down into the nines? Sure. Weird shit can happen. This thing's been grinding down since what? March. But I think it's in deep value territory right now. I think a lot of this stuff is, again, for this thing just to get back to its previous high, guys, what is it? And I mean, just previous high in March is 122% upside. So, but I can't tell you in days or weeks what CleanSpark's going to do, but I can tell you that within 6 months, I think I could make a lot of money. The underlying on this can give me like 3x, so I could make 300% potentially. Yeah, 300% is probably a good number if we hit our all-time high again and did it in quick fashion. So, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about that position since I was able to average down into it. Skeefer, Jesse, do you close your cards after the interest offer expires? No, never close your cards, guys. Never close your cards. The cards, you just pay it off. If you want a really good credit score, you don't close the accounts. You keep them open, especially the accounts you've had the longest period of time. Now, I will say this. I should update my thesis on this. There's a number of things that impact your credit score. Your ability, like you pay your history, right, is one of the hugest factors. Then also, how much debt to credit do you have? If you have a lot of debt to credit, your score will just get obliterated over the short term. And then the other thing is average age of credit. So in one regard, Skeefer, yes, that might be the right thing to do. And sometimes I do close those accounts because I want to keep my average age of credit high. So you have to think about stuff like that. So yes, let me take that back. You might want to close those accounts if they're new accounts that you opened where you didn't get an offer in the mail and maybe you've had this account for 10 years or something. Don't close the 10-year one. Don't do that. But the shorter term ones where you just got it and used it for a year and a half because it's a new card, yeah, maybe you would want to. If it shows that your average age of credit is a negative factor on your credit report. So you got to kind of look at stuff like that. I like Credit Karma. Is it Credit Karma? Yeah, Credit Karma is the one I use to be able to look at my credit score and kind of see where everything is sitting. But there are factors in that you want to keep consideration of. We do have, guys, about 52 minutes until market opens. Adam Gamblin, do we think Saylor will be hitting the ATM today? I mean, he just bought 5,000 Bitcoin or something, right? Did he use the ATM? I don't even know what we used for it. Sarah Parker, with ETFs, what are your thoughts that there is no bear market for BTC? I don't know how true that is, especially if we have a parabolic growth. There are always market cycles in everything. I think it would be shocking to not have downside occur on Bitcoin, but there's also a lot of weird factors on Bitcoin, guys. We're going to go into some of that. I might actually talk about that next. Matthew Purdy, have a look at SPAY. Lots of patents in regard to drone imagery. I'll make a note of that. Thank you. I'm going to actually put that up here. I do want, if you guys have other drone-like or military for drone tech plays, I want to know about them. I want to do a lot of research in that field. Sarah Parker, oh no, that was you. Palantir, hey Adam, what's up, dude? Good morning, all cheers. Please be wary of MSTR. Seems he only bought 500,000 of Bitcoin and will continue to issue more ATMs, taking advantage of the. I'm not worried about that at all, dude. You need to really spend time understanding how MicroStrategy works and how much better what they're doing is. Now they might not have had good enough convertible offerings right now because of potential risk going into January. But I'm not worried. MicroStrategy, once you get MicroStrategy, follow like Adam Beck, follow Ben Workman, get to understand how MicroStrategy is working and about how it's becoming more valuable as time goes by. What are we sitting at right now for MicroStrategy. We're sitting at 2.11 right now for the premium for MicroStrategy. I think that's cheap. I don't think we're going to get much lower. Maybe we get into the upper ones, like 1.9 range again, like we were the beginning of last week. But the thing with MicroStrategy that you have to understand, guys, that's really critical is this. It's these dotted lines right here. And this will get updated again. I don't think it's actually, let me just refresh here. I don't know if they probably don't have the new stuff in there yet. But it's understanding that every time they buy, their Bitcoin per share goes up. And so if you still think Bitcoin's got upside, then this is a great trade. Now, I will say, Adam, I do agree with you in regard to MSTU and MSTX, because if we have even another month of down to sideways chop in MicroStrategy, then I would be worried for people. I think they could get wrecked in those MSTU and MSTX plays. That's why I got out of all that shit. Exactly that reason. All right. Matt Skoy. Drone Shield is very interesting too. Ooh, okay. Drone Shield. Drone Shield. I need to figure out this space. Thank you, guys. Yeah, and I do agree, Adam. I think after they get done spending on the ATM, I do think it's a buy. I think it's an easy buy. Definitely. Sarah Parker Wolf, Cooler, Copen, would love your take on these. I probably won't get to any individual stocks today, guys. I'm just sick and I don't want to spend that much time on it. There's another drone one. Cool. Let me just add that here. Palantir is a screaming buy on any missed earnings and share price. Yeah, I think that Palantir, from a technical standpoint, still does not look good, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be a buy on downside price movement. What did we hit? 81 in pre-market today. So we're still hitting that. I wouldn't buy it here, guys. I wouldn't buy it here. This is literally the definition of parabola right here. This thing's almost $200 billion. Look at the measured move here. It's the definition of parabola. You see how like it's grinding up here, right? And then what it should do is break down, but this bounce from 21 up to 30 was bullish as fuck. And then what did we do? We literally made our move over this next fib to 81. Do you really think it's going to 410 anytime soon, this next fib line? I don't. I do think, though, that I think it's going to be hard for it to even get down to like 38. It can do this, though. If we have a big drawdown, in like Q1, because that S&P divergence we were looking at a little bit ago, I'll be buying Palantir. I would totally. I agree. I think it's a good company. I would probably just wait a little bit. I'd let it grind. Like I would buy really small. Here's how I do it, guys. I would buy small on a downward move, really small, and then I would get more aggressive the further down we go. Like if we got to 45, look at all this volume right here, guys. There is no volume between like 58 and 47. If you look right here, there's literally no volume right here. So this would be a great like starting like really getting an entry right where previous price action was the highest back, at the beginning of the company when they IPO'd. So this would be a good zone right here to start accumulating. And then if it made it down to 39 or 40, I think that would be a great buy. I really don't see it going lower than that anymore. I just don't. Not as interweaved, not with Trump winning and as interweaved as they are with everything. Ali, what do you think about Intel? I don't think much about them. I've been screwed by them so much. They have a bunch of government contracts, but I think they're not a great company. And I don't like it when the government is the only reason why you should be excited about a company. There's a lot of other chip companies out there. NVIDIA, I think, is way better. But again, kind of priced at a decent premium. But I would rather own NVIDIA over Intel right now. I mean, just look at this thing. It's like, what, $19? This stock was so much more. What was it? In the dot-com bubble, this thing was $76. Since the dot-com bubble, this thing's went down to 19. So if you owned Intel, you've suffered nothing but disappointment. Over here, I was excited. We got a double top. We broke down. I was like, guys, right over here, I was like, this could be a cup and handle. But then it really overshot the handle. And then when it came back up, I mean, it's been down ever since. So people bought into this at 51, thinking it was the next big thing, and now it's down to 19. The CEO left, this last CEO. He was very disappointing. He talked a big game. I don't know. Do you guys have any good arguments for Intel? Any good ones? I actually like AMD more. I know a lot of influencers are pushing that. I liquidated all mine to get more into MicroStrategy and Tesla, but just because I believe in those plays so much more in the years ahead. And I want to operate on safety first and foremost with my highest conviction bets, and then I want to speculate more into other things if I make too much money off of them. Do you have any updated thinking on AMD? I like AMD a lot better. If you look at their financials, I think they're better. If you look at their pipeline, Lucy, what is her name? I don't know. She's great, and I think just looking at their updated pipeline and what they're doing in the server like data pipeline field is really good, and I think they're going to continue to see increased revenues. Intel's last place. Well, they got a lot to prove, man. They just got rid of their CEO, and outside of government contracts, like, is there anything that we care about with Intel? But I think AMD, their guidance looks way better. Let's look at Intel real quick versus AMD, just super fast. And then I need to get to bookmarks, guys. There's so many news events that I want to talk about, so we'll probably jump to that next. But I mean, if you look at Intel, it's just a story of decline and failure. Look at their data center and AI margins. They're negative in 2023. That's gotten no better I guess a little bit better in 2024. But net income this last quarter, just abysmal, 16 billion in losses. The revenue has been in decline for years. Going back to 2021, that's when they really peaked. And now they're down to, I don't even know what they're going to be. Is it going to be sub 50 billion in this quarter? I don't know. It's some of their lowest that they've had. What is this? 12, 13, 24. Yeah, they're probably sub 50. They got more debt than they do assets. They've been diluting shareholders since the pandemic after doing stock buybacks. This thing just doesn't, I don't know. It's just not firing on all cylinders. And when I look at their estimates here, so this doesn't even look exciting. It's like flatlined. But if we look at an AMD, and what is their PE ratio? Let me look at this real quick. Their forward PE is 30. So why would you buy that let's look at NVIDIA's forward PE. Let's look at NVIDIA's forward PE. NVIDIA's forward PE is 33.44. Why would you not own NVIDIA? Why would you not own NVIDIA over Intel? Now let's look at AMD. Maybe AMD is a decent price. So their forward PE is 29. So again, maybe there's some argument here. Their data center revenue is growing, even though gaming was going down. Gaming, they pretty much given up on the high-end sector of the gaming side of things, but they're really focused on data revenue, which I think is probably the right move for them. So they're just like the low to mid-tier on graphic card processors now. NVIDIA has all that outside of it. But look at this. Their estimates are looking good again. EPS looking good. Activity from shareholders. I mean, not really anything to speak of since they were selling off in Q1 of 2019. Kind of institutional ownership's been flat, but it's a lot higher than it used to be. No short interest really to speak of. I don't know. This company to me, like increasing free cash flow, they're really, the only expenses that they have that are really growing are R&D. So they're really trying to expand and become better. I know there's arguments about their software, and their software is just not superior to Lisa Su. I wanted to say Lisa Lu, but Lisa Su. But their software is not as superior as NVIDIA. Their support just isn't as good. But I do think these guys on the data center side could really crush it still. So I like that better. Yes, we can look at some of that other stuff in a second, but I do want to get to the news-related events, guys. Mark, Jesse, besides Tesla and MicroStrategy, any long-term buys you like, non-tax advantaged account? So stuff like shorter-term stuff, is that what you mean by non-tax advantaged account, like over the next year? Again, I think I like the chip sector, One of the reasons I aborted out of it was because, again, I just wanted to get my higher conviction plays and worries of what might happen if we have some big controversial thing with China. Um, I just wanted to de-risk a little bit from that too, even though I think it's a lower likelihood of war with China because I don't think Xi can do it. Their country is falling apart. I'm probably going to make a standalone video soon. I've talked about it a lot, but I might not even make a standalone. I might just watch a couple of other videos and talk to the points on those. There's one that I saw just the other day that was amazing. There's a CNBC News alert. Oh, it's about Nordstrom. I don't give a shit about that. But yeah, so if I do end up buying, I don't know what I'm going to get into more of. I don't know. I don't know what else. I do like the idea of getting into chips, but I would only do that if I made a bunch of money off these other things and the economy still looked good and it still looked like we were headed for growth and expansion. So I'll probably do a reevaluation heading into, the end of January, beginning of February, or especially if we've dropped. There might be other things that I'm interested in, but yeah, I don't care much otherwise. Can we look at the BITF chart? Yeah, we can. I'll show you that real quick here. So let me just pull that up. Since I'm selling it today, you guys can see the chart too. And I don't love the BITF chart, but again, I also think that it could do really well. Don't make this necessarily a judgment on BITF, even though I haven't spent a lot of time on it in a while. It is down 56% from the highs. And this is kind of, I guess this is a way for me to reduce my exposure to from miners. I don't know if I've thought of it that way, but maybe subconsciously I have. But it's down 56% from where it was in March, right? Like when all the other miners were higher. One of the things I do not like with this one is the descending triangle look. Like I haven't really paid attention to the chart much on this one, but I don't love this. I don't love this. I would rather have it look like CleanSpark where it's just like deeply oversold and looks like it has some bounce. But I don't like this. I don't like this descending triangle. This is only an $800 million cap. They don't really, I don't know, they don't have all the positive narrative of some of these others. They are only up 350% this cycle, so they're not up a lot. But yeah, I don't love this descending triangle. But again, this thing would never complete its measured move. It would be like under 90 cents if it did that. And I just don't see that happening. I think it's probably, if anything, it would probably overshoot down a little bit, maybe into the lower ones, and then it would bounce. But if it did complete the measured move on this thing, it would be medieval. But I think Bitcoin would be so fucked if that happened, or this company would have some actual individual risk of its own that we don't know about. But yeah, I don't see that happening. I just don't. But maybe we could get an overshoot where it goes down a little bit and then it bounces. Like you could see, let's check this real quick. Does this look, will this make any sense? No, it doesn't. Yeah, if you had anything, maybe you'd have a bounce right there. You are selling BITF? Yeah, but I'm doing it because I want to pay off $200,000 in credit cards at the beginning of the year. So it has less to do with these guys. It's only 4% of my portfolio. I was looking at my portfolio and I was like, what would I sell? And it's like, okay, I actually think PayPal has some really good upside. And the ability for this to be asymmetric, like this could be 5 to 10x the underlying. So if PayPal went up 50%, I could make 250 to 500%. So I'm not selling this one. I actually think, and they had a great quarter. And again, they've been lowballing a lot. So I actually feel pretty good about PayPal heading into next year. I'm not selling Tesla. I still have some SMCI, it looks like, and some SoFi. But I like both of these. Well, I like SoFi. SMCI, I don't know. But, I already dumped a bunch of other things. It looks like I've got some Micron still. I don't know how that's doing. Could take a look. So maybe I could pull some of those like SMCI and Micron if I wanted to. MSTR I'm not getting rid of. I'm just going to add to it. And then let's see here. DLO is kind of dead. I don't know. I might sell some of that. CleanSpark I'm not going to sell. And then Archie I'm not going to sell because I think that could have upside too. So I could sell a few more chips and I could sell my DLO. But honestly, it's so depressed anyway. I don't know. I might just let it run out. But yeah, it's more about just my own personal finances and less about Bitfarms. Jesse, CleanSpark has gone down while Bitcoin has gone up. Yeah, they all have. All the miners have, dude. That's not a clean spark thing. Look out. Look out at all the miners. I mean, they've done that, right? And if you look, even MicroStrategy, like that, has MicroStrategy done really well recently outside of its parabolic move? It's kind of started dying over the last month, right? Even though I'm probably way higher conviction right now on MicroStrategy than I would be the miners, honestly. I'm just way higher conviction on it. We could still see, though, you got to realize we could still do something weird where maybe we go down and fill this gap in the 280s. That's possible. Archer, yeah, I still don't love Archer, but it depends on how well they integrate with Palantir and if they go down the military standpoint. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't see the point of Archer. MTech. All right, I'll check that one out too. For drones. Any update thoughts? Okay, let's see here. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna get to news related events, guys. We spent a bunch of time talking about a bunch of things. I do want to get to news, so we're gonna go back here and start rolling through it, and then we'll go from there. And again, sorry I'm so low energy today. It just is what it is. I'm gonna start with the broader look, U.S. economy. Oh, and I do want, so Seth Golden here. Let's start with some of this, then we'll jump over to Michael Howell's latest thoughts. Seth Golden, what they do, consumer spending continues higher. So consumer spending, he's showing since the pandemic, has basically just continued to accelerate, right? Or I can't say accelerate, but it's continued to go higher. It started like a more stable path here after 2023. But what he was saying is, he said, basically pay attention to what they do, not what they say, because consumer sentiment, if you look at it, was in a downward trend. But it's been in an uptrend since about mid-2022. So all he's saying is some of these sentiment surveys are less accurate than what actually ends up happening, and sometimes can be a contraindicator of what's really going on. I agree with all that. But again, I think consumer sentiment's getting more positive as of late too. Ryan Detrick said, yes, inflation is up 19% since February of 2020. No one likes it. What they don't tell you is employee compensation and disposable income is running well above inflation. So this is an important one to look at, guys. So this is since the pandemic, right? You can see where employee compensation dropped initially, just a little bit, a tick lower. And then again, disposable personal income didn't really drop at all because we had the money printer going burr. And so that got really accelerated for a while. But look at this since. Again, inflation, PCE price index up 19%, but personal consumption and spending and employee compensation are up 29 and 32% respectively. So these are outpacing the inflation, and the inflation has calmed down dramatically. So when everybody's talking about like inflation being a big concern, it's not. And I would agree that this is positive. This is positive. Look at this. Employee compensation looks like it's actually accelerating in the last like half a year. And then spending, disposable personal income doesn't look like it's slowing down at all. So these are very positive things. Also, we got Dan Ives here talking about how we're in a bull market for the next 2 to 3 years. I don't know if this is broader. I haven't heard it. I wanted to play it though. Here we go.
3-year bull market for tech because it's a fourth industrial revolution.
Bull market for tech. That I 100% agree with.
That's playing out in front of us, and that's going to be big tech and the multiplier. And I think it's only 10 p.m. in the AI party that goes to 4 a.m.
Yeah. Have you gotten any later in the party, or are we still, it's always kind of early, isn't it? I mean, it's been a year now, but we're still at 10 p.m. Oh, we started at 9. Okay.
Started at 9, now we're 10 p.m. And look, we think tech stocks are up another 25% over the next year. And I think NASDAQ 25,000 a year from now is something that we're going to start talking about going into the end of next year, early 26.
Yeah, so much of this, there it is, the last line there, so much of this depending on, the numbers are staggering. We talk about them all the time, quarter to quarter.
Tech and M&A to be up 50%. These are Wedbush's predictions. That's Dan Ives' company. Tech stocks to be up another 25%. The $4 trillion market cap club gets its first three members. AI CapEx will exceed $1 trillion alone in 2025 for AI. I agree with all that.
But you think AI CapEx is going to exceed $1 trillion? Why? In 2025, I should say. Yeah, right. Why?
Yeah. It's everything we're seeing. Look, that's why we travel the globe, right? Trying to understand where the AI CapEx is and what's happening in the market. I think Street's underestimating AI CapEx potential by 30 to 40%. And I think the biggest thing here is the multiplier. For every dollar spent on a NVIDIA chip, there's an 8 to 10 multiplier across the rest of tech. That's why you have names like the Messi of AI, Palantir. You have other use cases that are now starting to be in software, Salesforce, front and center. And this is just the beginning. It's get the popcorn out because the rest of tech now sees the benefit of the AI revolution.
Somebody said, "Hey Jesse, which are the plays that you would buy today in case they drop due to tax selling actions?" Tesla and MicroStrategy. They're my number ones. And again, I think there's other plays too. And I'll definitely continue to post my trades to all subs on Discord and X. But those are the number one things I'd be adding to. Operator said PayPal Honey worth watching. I watched it. I really don't think it's worth anything. Even though it's got 4 million views, there's a lot of like influencers and people on X talking about it. I don't know. Why does it matter? How is that going to affect PayPal at all? For their earnings are going to be good. I don't think anybody's going to give a shit about the Honey video. I just don't think it matters. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's super sketch," but like, why? I don't know. Again, I don't think it matters. Balaji posted this. Then we got Eric Voorhees' response to it. So I wanted to show this. Let me turn that audio off. So Balaji said the single best long-run measure for food inflation, and it's gone vertical. So Campbell's condensed soup unit price per can. So this shows you guys, all this really is what happened in the 70s, right? We removed ourselves from the gold standard. You can see where it started. And you can see what happened. So a can of condensed soup used to cost like 11 cents, 12 cents. It's currently sitting at $1.23 or something like that. And you can see where it went even more vertical after all the money printing that we did with the pandemic, right? So the pandemic was over here. It was about 85 cents a can, and now it's $1.25. But you know what? When you print 40% of the money supply that's existed since the pandemic, isn't that about right? It went up about 40%, didn't it? So it went from 85 cents up to $1.25. This went up about the amount that we printed in the money supply. So it's not like corporate gouging. It's not any of this other stuff. It's just literally what happens when you print a bunch of money. Is it worth holding Dell? I don't know why. There's plenty of other companies that I think are better than Dell. And Eric Voorhees just responded, and again, he's an OG in the crypto space. He looks pretty good. He's got a hottie behind him too here. He looks a lot cooler than he used to back in the day, I'll tell you that. This is even more damning when one realizes this increase is occurring despite all technological innovations in production and distribution. 100% agree with that. The price could be falling over time. Your fiat money is being continually debased. Its value siphoned at the margins. To politically connected constituencies. When done slowly enough, few perceive the fraud. The Fed's role is to ensure it's done slowly. Yep, that's true. That's literally it. He's 100% right about all that, guys. The Fed's role is to make sure that it's done slowly so that you don't notice. And Elon Musk just got done doing a post saying that the Fed is way too overstaffed. I love that. Let's abolish a bunch of that too. Eric Dougherty said, breaking Trump promises the next year he will deliver the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. So again, you got to outweigh the good with the bad. Short term, I think we could have some downside price action. This next year, though, I think there's no way but up. If he's able to do this level, people. So again, guys, we got the government open. He kept the government open, and we killed an omnibus that was like almost 1,600 pages. Cramnibus, they like to call it. So I think that's amazing. What did I have here? I said I agree with Danny Day in 5 that we're closer to something like 1998 that could lead to a .com bubble, type bubble. I also agree that we might have a rougher start to the first part of the year because we have negative narratives about real Donald Trump presidency will be able to accomplish, as well as false fears about inflation. I put negative inflation. I shouldn't have put that. About inflation and a weaker job market. But what will happen is stronger employment from less illegal immigration, strong pro-growth policies, low taxes, all that other stuff. So I think that is the path forward. This video is really great. I don't know why they didn't link it. X isn't really doing that. But this channel right here, guys, Blockworks Macro, I highly encourage you to listen to it. And I think it's Danny on here is just brilliant. But there's a lot of good people on it. So I would check out Blockworks Macro if you want to get a really good view into the depths of the weeds of the macro world. And if you didn't notice this, guys, again, we were in extreme fear last week. This is the buy zones for the last 2.5 years. I just want to show this again. Buy. So even here, buy. Now, technically, we did go lower, but still over the short term, you bought in this range and you did well. So we hit right down here, just like I said we were going to. We ended up dropping right down here. And so again, buy, 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 buy. Everything tells us that this should be a buy, unless the cycle is changing dramatically. Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I think that's a lot of it for that section. Let's move on. Let's look at the Department of Government Efficiency. So again, Elon Musk said Fed is overstaffed absurdly. Let's abolish the Fed, or at least start taking it out. Rand Paul said it was exposing celebrities receiving. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Nicolas Cage, but he received 4.7. What is this? Let's listen to it. Actually, I want to listen to what Rand Paul has to say here. So again, North Carolina victims jack shit for assistance, but celebrities are getting a bunch of money. This is appalling.
Oh, Nicolas Cage, boy, that's a nice house. $4.2 million in New Orleans, also eligible for government insurance. Look, I love Nicolas Cage. I'd go to parties at his house too. I love his movies. I'd pay $20 to go to the movie. Actually, I don't want to pay $20. I would pay to go to see his movies. But I don't think we should buy insurance for his home. If he can get a $4.2 million home, I'll bet you he could buy his own insurance. Let's see who else is eligible for government insurance. Oh, Matt Damon, he's had a lot of good movies. Man, he must be doing great. His place costs $20 million.
So this is just appalling. The fact that these guys could get government insurance and be subsidized by the government for their multi-million-dollar homes, and yet we're not even helping people in North Carolina, is appalling.
It's eligible for government insurance too. You think Matt Damon would be embarrassed to find out that the government's subsidizing his first $250,000? Shouldn't we all be embarrassed? Program's $16 billion in the hole, and we want to renew a program without any reforms. Just keep doing it. It keeps losing money. Just keep doing the same thing. Maybe Matt Damon could buy his own insurance. Who else has a house that'd be eligible for insurance? Oh, Phil Collins, he made some good music. He must have made some great music. His home's worth $40 million.
And again, how are these people getting assistance with these homes for insurance? How is that possible that a $40 million house could be eligible for insurance?
In Biscayne Bay, Florida, also eligible for government insurance. So, I can't imagine how we couldn't come to a compromise. So if ordinary people have second homes that are $500,000 beach homes, if we just went up to $2 million, then we're only going to be clipping Phil Collins and Nicolas Cage and a few others. We have anybody else? Let's see who else we have. Oh.
I am so glad that we have X now to be able to identify all the absurdities in government and call them out for it, and then have a voice like Elon's to really be able to push it out there and make change. It's so beautiful.
Now, Cher, she's been doing well for a long time. She has a $42 million place in Miami Beach, also eligible for government insurance. We could go on and on. But the thing is, doesn't mean we don't like rich people or appreciate their success. I'm all for it. I'm just not for giving them free stuff. Why would we give them subsidized insurance? So what I will offer now is
and yet we have people in North Carolina that are wrecked. Brad says it'll be 10 to 15 years before North Carolina mountains are restored at best. It's fucking horrific. It's horrific, man. And it's ridiculous that people with $40 million homes. And again, I'm all for people getting rich. I've done that myself. I don't have a $42 million home. I want a $2 million home soon. But it's great that these people have tons of money. Why is the government subsidizing their insurance for their fucking homes? Or why are they eligible for it, even if they aren't using it, when we've got people in North Carolina that are just wrecked and they don't get any of these things?
Second Amendment, and this one might be easier to accept, and realize that this could be accepted right now. This entire program could be reauthorized with these amendments tonight if the senator from Louisiana will accept this amendment.
So again, I agree. There's a lot to fix. Also, so Eric Dowdy put, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries ready to work with Trump to abolish the debt ceiling next year. I would love for this to be true. I don't know if it is, but I would love for that to be true. Somebody said, hey, Jesse, $200,000 in credit cards. Lol, what banks are those with? There's a bunch of them. Capital One, I think Bank of America. I don't remember. They change all the time on which ones are willing to do it. There are sites you can find where it's like finding the best balance transfer offer. If you guys ever did, and again, I don't encourage people to take out debt. Like if you take out debt, it should be because you can afford to pay it back, and you're just trying to find cheap debt for a period of time. And 2%, like a lot of the times they give you like a 3% fee, but if you're doing it for 18 months, that's really 2% a year. Like 2% debt is so fucking cheap compared to how much you can make off of investments and everything else. So again, this is something I've done, but yeah, you can get really good offers that are out there again. But again, it's one of those things where you got to know how to do it, and you got to use things like Credit Karma, and you got to find which sites give you the 18-month offers at 0%. And I don't know how good those offers are right now. I'm not sure. But again, it's one of those things where just make sure you can repay debts if you're taking them out. The spending bill to avert the shutdown passes. Good news. Yep, I agree. Elon Musk, a billionaire who runs the GOP, but then they show Soros' son, who's taken over the business, hanging out with all the Democrats that he's paying for, probably contributing more to their campaigns than Elon Musk did. This is exactly the goal. It says the political and legacy media puppets all got their new instructions yesterday, are now parroting the same message to drive a wedge between me and real Donald Trump. They will fail. I agree with that. Democrats are lying again. It turns out the cancer research funding that Democrats are blaming on Elon Musk was a standalone bill that passed the Republican-controlled House but got held back by the Democrats in the controlled Senate. So again, just a bunch of bullshit. I love that we have a place, though, on X to be able to find the truth. It's so beautiful. Let's check out geopolitics super quick. Merry Christmas, guys. I agree, Toddless. Merry Christmas. So we've got terrorist activity in Germany, where a terrorist who was wanted by the Saudi government and who literally threatened to run people over in Germany a year or two ago, did it and killed a bunch of people and wounded a bunch of people and probably just destroyed hundreds of lives from everybody that's impacted by this. And the German government kept him there. They kind of gave him asylum status, even though he was a horrible person in Saudi Arabia and was a horrible person in Germany. But they don't care about that, right? They don't care about that. You protect the bad guys. You protect the guys who have AR-15s on their page. And this Saudi extradition, this post right here was just absurd. This is, again, from an Arab in Saudi Arabia talking about how this case went down and just all the absurdity that went along with it, and how this guy hated Germany and wanted to murder all these people, and had plenty of opportunity to, while the German government protected him, and then he was able to do it. So very disappointing. The woke left and the absurdity in Europe and Canada, and that was going around in the United States, is going to die. It will die. I believe very strongly that all this absurdity is going to go away. You can see political leaders all around Europe. Looks like Canada is going to just be a wipeout with Trudeau. Polar Bear? Pierre Poilievre? He's going to take over in Europe. I hope I'm getting the right name. I'm so tired again, guys. Just puking like crazy yesterday. But I think a lot of this stuff is going to get better. And Elon Musk said you don't hate the legacy media enough. And it just shows, again, this horrible person who was a terrorist, clearly a terrorist, who said that he was going to do this before he did it. It talks about a car drove into a crowd. A car drove in. Dozens feared vehicle plows into crowd. Car drives into Christmas market. Car plows into market. A car has driven into the market. A car drives. It wasn't a car. It was the fucking terrorist using a vehicle. How can a judge cancel an election and not be considered a dictator? So in Romania, this dictator judge canceled the Romanian election because they don't like the powers that be that are rising up not being them. So again, it's kind of very Brazil-like in its structure. Europe opens probe and into TikTok over election interference following the Romanian election. I don't know. There's just so much weird geopolitical shit. And then Trudeau does not have the ability to speak like this. He's never been capable of it. I showed this one the other day, but I think there's a lot of really horrific governments that are going to be taken over. Arcadian just sent me a link. What does it say here? It's from Charlie Kirk. I love this guy. Tom, okay, so this is the guy that's going to be taking care of the border and getting people extradited out of the country. My gang's bigger than yours. Let's listen to this. This should be entertaining.
Out of the gate, day one, we're going to focus on public safety threats and national security threats. They're first. They're coming first. And Trenda Agua, your days are numbered. My gang's bigger than your gang. And we're going to take you out of the country. We're going to port you out of here. Who do you think you are, coming to the greatest place on earth
thank you,
and victimizing Americans in this country? Your days are numbered. You're number one on the list.
Yeah, so you don't want to be those guys. And they already picked up a bunch of them in Colorado, so we know that's happening. So yeah, very true. Very true. That is what's going down. Let's go back a little bit here, though. Worthless company with a half-wit CEO. Oh, I don't know what that is. It's that's my boy Arnie. I think I'm subbed to him. Am I subbed to Arnie? I know I was going to. Yeah, okay. I try to sub to everybody that everybody I like and or provides great content and or are just like great. Yeah, again, like and provide or provide great content. So, and I think Artie's one of those guys. He's a good dude. Radio Genova gives some good takes on the current nonsense in Europe. There's so much nonsense in Europe. Yeah, Kamawa, we did. I reposted that Clean Spark guidance and the fact that they're looking for 50 exahash early into 2025. That's all great. All right, so a bunch of stuff. Let's keep going down the list. I'm actually going to jump into altcoins first. I'm just going to dial up here. So one thing I wanted to point out, Rahul Paul is an interesting guy. He doesn't always have the best takes, but I do think that this is interesting. Let's see here. He says Solana seems decent breakout, a retest. Next should be the continuation. Let's see. So it just shows how it's hitting a trend line of support on Solana. I don't know. Maybe it could wick underneath of it for a second. It's possible. What's Bitcoin doing right now? 95.2. So it looks like Bitcoin's breaking out. But again, guys, like I said, I want it to trend down. I'd rather see it trend down and turn into a bull flag. And that way we know we're going to go higher. I'm okay. I would rather have it. I look at this way, guys. I'm very much this guy. If you're going to have pain in markets, I want it now. I want it now. I don't want it to be drawn out and trying to figure out if we're going to drop and have it take months. I would rather have Bitcoin, if it's going to drop fucking now, get it over with, and then we know that we're headed back up. So I would prefer that we grind down a little bit and then have that positive action. So Frank Chaparro said Tether sees $10 billion in net profits for 2024. A stable coin company made $10 billion in profit in 2024. They're also supporting Rumble. I think they were going to invest $700 million in that, which I'm all for. I don't actually like Rumble. I stopped streaming to it just because it's just like, I don't know, it's not the greatest interface. And I love X. X is my baby. I use YouTube because it's got the best setup right now, but X is my baby, and I think X is going to be the future. So I don't know. I don't know if we need a Rumble in the future when we have X. USDT scares me. I used to think that too. And I did so much research into their finances since 2017. It's been 8 years or 7.5 years of research into this company. And I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't think there's any risks really with USDT. They would have come out already. They had many moments to implode. And again, one of the main things that they're doing now is buying U.S. Treasuries. So they're giving the U.S. government what they want too, and they're getting really intertwined with U.S. business. So I don't have the same concerns I used to have with them. Real quickly, CoinMarketCap. The builders have spoken. Solana takes the crown, the most new developers in 2024. Solana is winning on a lot of factors, guys. You can dial down the risk curve and get things that are much smaller that can give you a greater return. But as far as shitcoins go, Solana's probably one of my favorite. It's probably at the top of the list over Ethereum. And again, just the amount of developers is just one aspect of that. If you look over here, this as the Solana DeFi took off and apps like Moonshot. So it's showing DeFi numbers. So Solana applications generate more revenue than Ethereum applications. So if you look here between Ethereum and Solana, for the first time in October, Solana generated more revenue than Ethereum did for applications. That's insane. Counted DApps by monthly revenue. That's just, again, another breakdown of it. But Solana to me is the better option. And then my buddy Income Sharks, he said rally starts after Christmas. He's not always right, but I'm not either. So let's just see here. He says Santa needs to see who is good and bad. Last election year, we had a couple of big red days before the rally, and so he's saying that we're gonna bounce after Christmas. So maybe it's the after Christmas rally. Mustache again, it just showed the trend how we could get a back test in altcoins, and if we do that, this is the total market cap here, guys. But if we do that and we get that back test, he believes it's very similar to what happened in 2020. I would agree with that, actually. I think this isn't just a fractal. Like, this is pretty accurate. And so I agree that the altcoin market, it's underperformed like pretty decently so far. But this isn't crazy. And I could see this back testing and then going higher. So I agree with that too. And I think that's it for that. Crypto.com. Oh, I don't know if I talked about this one. Crypto.com CEO Chris Marszalek is meeting with President-elect Trump to discuss digital assets and a potential Bitcoin reserve. So again, there's just so many positive things. Marty Party, Solana is the first layer one to break out of speculation into fundamental valuation. All other layer ones, this is crazy. All other layer ones, last 30 days worth of fees, Solana. So again, Solana was something I used to make fun of back in the day when it would go down all the time, back in the 2022, 2023 range. All those times, but it's definitely changed. It is the most utilized. And Marty Party, Solana continues to separate itself from all the other networks. Daily note vote transactions. So again, just look at the transactions here on these different networks. It's just not comparable. And another way to look at it, Crypto Rover says, hey, we're getting a back test, but we're kind of like in this zone. And we're getting ready to go higher. So again, I think a lot of that's probably true. I think that's where we're headed. Let's go to Bitcoin. And so we got about 19 minutes till market open, guys. This is a good one. This is Cointelegraph. I wanted to show you this because I'm very interested in this. So it's the cap table for known entities. So what I wanted to show you the most in here is that the growth miners have done a lot. Exchanges hold a lot of Bitcoin. A lot of that's going to be Coinbase. That's definitely a thing. DeFi is growing. MicroStrategy is definitely growing. But what's really fascinating to me is, so again, MicroStrategy grown a lot. What's fascinating to me is the governments. In orange here, look at how much the governments, look at how much more Bitcoin is being held by governments. That's a big deal. That's something you should take note of. All right, so Bitcoin conference, Eric Trump, I am the biggest supporter of the U.S. holding Bitcoin. That's an older one. All right, I think that's this last conference. And Fred Krueger, he's an interesting dude. There's things I like and things I don't, but he gets the MicroStrategy trade, which I like. But here he is talking to Peter Schiff, and he just fucking destroys him.
Disagree that they got rich by buying a store of value. They did not.
You have investors, you have people who listen to you, and those people have underperformed Bitcoin by a massive
Everybody
amount.
has underperformed Bitcoin. Well, I mean, what difference does that make?
It makes a difference between you're in the wrong asset. That's the problem. Okay. Literally, you're being paid to provide financial advice, and you're giving really bad financial advice. Your track record is the worst track record, literally, of any person in the world. Because I don't know anybody who's been negative on Bitcoin since Bitcoin $1. I don't know a single person.
I'm telling people not to buy Bitcoin. There are a lot of other people, professionals in the financial services, that don't tell people to go out and buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, but he's like, no, you're the worst because you've been doing it since $1. So you've been horrific. You're like the worst manager out there. And he's 100% right. Bitcoin, our U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve could reduce national debt by 35% by 2049, according to Van Eck. And I love Van Eck. They're definitely, they're a company that has been way ahead of the curve when it comes to Bitcoin. But look at this real quick here. Schiff commented Saylor's recent post on MicroStrategy buying. I can only imagine. He's such an idiot. We're not even going to look at Peter Schiff's comments. But again, you have Van Eck guys talking about how it's going to help the U.S. national debt be reduced by 35% by 2049 if we start the reserve. There's a lot of momentum. And here's another one. Bitcoin Magazine, again, Van Eck, $90 billion Van Eck says that the U.S. could reduce its national debt again. Oh, this is just like the same thing. So just showing that their cap, I guess. Oh, I don't know how this ended up in here. I put it in the wrong thing. But this is good. So this is a Tesla one. I'm going to real quickly move this. We'll get over that in a second with the Tesla side of things because I don't want to forget it. Gally is an OG. He's the reason I got into Tesla in 2017. He was just brilliant, way ahead of everybody else. Bitcoin Munger, again, this is Charlie Munger's alter ego. He said net transfer volume from and to exchanges. It just shows, again, this massive amount. This is net transfer volume from to exchanges, all exchanges. So it showed how a ton of money is coming off exchanges in regard to Bitcoin. And this is a big deal. When the money comes off the exchanges, it's very positive for the long-term price action of Bitcoin. Also, in the last 11 hours, we have a post from Metaplanet has acquired 619 Bitcoin for 9.5 billion yen. So again, everybody's getting the Bitcoin, guys. And this, I've got another post here. I wanted to show you this. This says U.S. Bitcoin ETFs bought 520,000 of Bitcoin so far this year. So left to mine, 1.2 million. Now, I want to say this because, sure, the Bitcoin ETFs have gotten 5.2, right? That's a lot. That's a lot of Bitcoin. Here, let me refresh this real quick. That's a lot of Bitcoin. But we have corporations buying it. We have governments buying it. We have pensions buying it. We've got states and cities buying it. And so it's not just the ETFs. Even though the ETFs have acquired 50% of the remaining supply to be issued, we also have Michael Saylor, adding another couple 100,000 Bitcoin and all these other companies and stuff. So we essentially probably almost this year have had people acquiring what the amount of Bitcoin that is left to be printed over the next 100+ years. Do you realize that in like a year, we've had basically what is going to be the remaining supply to be developed, consumed by the markets, individuals, all this other stuff. So there's just not enough Bitcoin, guys. All right, we got this is a comment here from the latest All-In Pod talking about the stablecoin market. Let's listen to this real quick.
The point is that a lot of companies that you would never think. So, for example,
how can Bitcoin reduce the national debt? It can do it. That's a question that I just got in chat here from Always Learning. The same way that MicroStrategy is gaining value in Bitcoin per share issued, the U.S. government is the world reserve currency. We can print money pretty much ad infinitum. Okay. Now that has negative impacts to our economy. When you print money and you add that money into the supply, it's very negative. Why is it negative? Because then if you have 40% more money and you give it out to all the people and you spend it wastefully where it's not productive, then you're going to have like 40% inflation or something close to that, right? Because you've increased the money supply and it basically just everything gets divvied out and now it costs 40% more for everything because you have that much extra money sitting in the system. So it's inflationary, and when it's inefficient, and that's what government is good at, is being inefficient, it's not good. It's not good, right? We can all agree that our debt is too high, that we need our GDP growth to expand past our debt. Well, if you buy Bitcoin, it doesn't actually get added to the money supply, but you acquire Bitcoin, and so the amount of Bitcoin we have per our national debt would go up, just like MicroStrategy's value in Bitcoin per share is going up as they buy Bitcoin. And if you believe that Bitcoin is going up in value in the years and decades ahead, then the U.S. government would get richer while we print more money and buy more Bitcoin. And let's say we only, like, if we were selling, let's say we just, like, all the confiscated Bitcoin we keep, and then let's say that if we printed money in the United States, we took like 2% of that and put it into Bitcoin, the numbers would be insane on how quickly we would gain in wealth. And again, it would just set off the race. So this is a projection show. Oh, I'll have to play with this later. This just allows you to be able to manipulate the figures for Bitcoin price and the annual BTC acquisition and the share dilution and the projection over quarters and the NAV multipliers. So that's kind of cool. But again, so MicroStrategy, guys, With shares diluted, they were at what? They were at 3 decimal points, 0.0087292 BTC per share. And right now they're sitting at almost 0.0016. So the amount of Bitcoin since February of 2024 per share in MicroStrategy has doubled. It's doubled. So it's just one of those things where, again, that same concept could apply for the US government, where our wealth that we're generating from our Bitcoin reserve, which is kind of like the new gold reserve, could go up because of the hardness of the money. It's such an important concept to understand. It doesn't just apply to MicroStrategy, it applies to us too. And so this is a beautiful way, between making government more efficient with the Department of Government Efficiency, with lower taxation creating pro-growth, with AI, robotics, and autonomy helping just increase the wealth of our country and pull down the price of goods, because technology is deflationary naturally. And then with, increasing Bitcoin reserves, you could have a lot of really positive things happening in the economy in the years ahead. All right, anyway, back over here to stable coins.
SpaceX uses these stable coins. How do you think they collect payments from all the Starlink customers when they aggregate them in all of these long tail countries? They don't want to necessarily take the FX risk, the foreign exchange risk. They don't want to deal with
Corey, how would the money end up in the system? So you print the money, but it doesn't go into the system because it doesn't go to consumers. It doesn't go anywhere else. It just gets added to the Bitcoin reserve, right? So you don't actually put the money back into the system. You do print more money, but since it doesn't go into the system, it doesn't like slosh around and end up having a lot of those same similar effects. And either way, it wouldn't even matter. Let's say that it ends up creating some inflation. None of that matters either. And none of that matters because you're still in a hard asset that ends up creating more value over the time for the debt that you took out. So it's a win-win, man. It's a win-win. Just think about it real hard. Why do you invest in Bitcoin? Do you think that same kind of benefit would help our government? I can tell you this, guys. And the market just opened. It's 8:30. We did the ding ding. Let me go back over here. We'll pull it up real quick. And then I got to sell my stuff anyway. So let's just do this real quick. Oh, let me fix this. I got to move this up. I got to bring this over. We'll get our ding ding just so we have our moment.
Influenced by these tech stocks. It's one thing people are paying attention. Also, the equal weight, which is sort of a way to look at the general average stock, has underperformed as well because big cap tech has been in the driver's seat.
The weakness, by the way, in United Health Group has certainly played a factor over the course of that Dow decline and that big losing streak, accounting for almost half of the losses within the Dow during that period.
Also want to point out, let's take the opening bell, in fact, happening as we speak, the CNBC real-time exchange. Here at the big board, it's America Cares, here to deliberate the season of giving, celebrate the season of giving, and highlight the importance of increased healthcare access around the world. Then over at the NASDAQ, SKK.
All right, I just sold $230,000 in Bitfarms here. We'll see if that order completes. It says pending. Let's see how far I can drop the price. Probably going to get, I don't know, that's a decent tick. I don't know how liquid this is, so it's probably going to drop at a decent amount. I dropped it from 2.38 to 2.98, I think, like instantly. So I maybe moved it by a couple, like 0.3% or something, or 0.6%. And then now, let's see, is this done? And 1 second, let me make sure my order went through. It said rejected. Let me go back over here again. What the fuck? 1 sec. Let me just get this trade done. All right, so I'll see if this finishes, and then again, let's just look over here real quick, and then we'll get back to the comments about the stable coins because they're good. Yeah, it feels, I don't know, the Santa Claus rally feels pretty dead. Let's go over here, though, to the watch list. Let me see if this actually closed. Did this trade close? I don't think this trade is closing. Why isn't it? All right, I'm going to try a smaller amount. I don't know what's going on. Oh, did it close? No. Okay. All right, so let's sort real quick here by percentages, see how things are going today. So we do have some shit coins popping. Let me see this real quick here. 50,000. All right. Ah, okay. It wouldn't let me do a 200,000. It just rejected it. That's fucking stupid. But it did let me sell more, like smaller blocks. It didn't even give me a reason. So retarded. All right, let me see if I can sell the rest now. Yeah, there we go. Bitfarms is out. All right, so I'm out of Bitfarms. That's good. So I got that position done. Let's sort here. Let's see, what are we at? So today, we got Optimism up 3%, ARB, AMD's up 2.68. Congrats on the chip side, guys. 2.58. And I still, again, there's a bunch of videos from different FinTwit influencers talking about why AMD is a good investment. And I agree with most of them. Meta's up today. Nvidia's up today. Tesla's up 1.6. SoFi's up. We'll see if these can hold it and gain strength. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Again, miners getting hit. I probably didn't help Bitfarms at all. Selling almost $250,000 in it. That's probably a decent amount of volume in the morning. Am I a big part of the volume? Let me see. Volume was 1.9 million, and I'm 250K out of it. So yeah, I probably didn't help the price. Thank God I sold my Bitfarms before Jesse. There you go. Good job. All right, so I want to get back. Nissan and Honda just announced in merger talks. Yeah, that was actually a few days ago, I think, unless there's something new. But essentially, Nissan only had like 12 months left, or they were going to go bankrupt. You're going to see a bunch of that across the legacy media, guys. All right, let me get back over here, though. Where was I? Oh, no, it was over here. I want to listen to the rest of the stablecoin conversation.
Sending wires. So what they do is they'll swap into stablecoin, send it back to the United States, and then swap back to US dollars. So it's a very useful utility. So number one is, I think we need to make those rails the standard rails in the United States.
Yeah,
and what
thank
that
you, JJ.
does is it allows us to chip away at all of this decrepit infrastructure that the banks use to sort of slow down and tax a process that should never have been taxed. The point is that a lot of companies that you would never think. So for example, SpaceX uses these stable coins. How do you think they collect payments from all the Starlink customers when they aggregate them in all of these long?
Oh, sorry, recycled again. But this is just talking about how, and Starlink, guys, is everywhere. I don't know if they're in like 50 or 80 countries now. It's a huge number. So again, just stable coins allow them to be able to transact across the world internationally for very low fees. And so stable coins are going to be some of the fuel. They help the US dollar. They help maintain strength in it. And then at the same time, they lower the costs and make banks less relevant. And so I think all this is really good. Sriram Krishnan, I'm honored to be able to serve our country and ensure continued American leadership in AI, working closely with David Sachs. This team is just getting built up, guys. And so this is a senior policy advisor for artificial intelligence at the White House. And so we're going to have such a really awesome tech-driven team, meritocratic, capitalist team that is a part of all this stuff in the future, and I'm just very excited about it. North Star talking about Bitcoin versus gold. I don't know if there's too much here, but essentially saying that it's trying to find support with Bitcoin versus gold off of what is a very long trend line going back to the end of 2021. For a cup and handle. And again, I think that it will find support here. This is just this, and the measured move on this just shows the death of gold as a strategic reserve. It's going to diminish greatly. Also, I don't even know how much this got put out there, but this is about Halliburton investing in Bitcoin. I'm going to pull this up real quick here. I don't want to read comfortably in the app. Where is it? Is there an actual article here? They don't even show it. That sucks. But essentially, it sounds like they're getting into the Bitcoin mining space from my understanding of it. I sold it for cash. It has nothing to do as a strategic play or anything like that, Tommy. Again, breaking SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce suggests spot Bitcoin ETFs may have in-kind redemptions in 2025. I don't know how much people are talking about this, but this is huge. Imagine with your spot Bitcoin ETF, if you could actually just withdraw Bitcoin at any time. This is great because it makes these ETFs accountable for the amount of Bitcoin that they hold. It's just another way of ensuring that they hold the underlying asset, and I love that. The more of this we have, the better. The 2024 Bitcoin Santa rally is loading. Lock in. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe. And this is my failed prediction here for Bitcoin price action. Let's see what else we got here. Anything else? Oh, and this is just talking about self-custodying, guys. If you're going to self-custody, make sure you know what you're doing. It can be pretty painful if you don't. So make sure that you don't lose the seed phrase, and then put in the wrong pin 3 times and wipe out your entire savings of Bitcoin. Self-custody is great, and I think everybody should have some in a hardware wallet, but I also think that it can be really dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, and there's all kinds of risks in life, guys. Diversify between different things so that you can avoid having too much in one basket, because that guy lost his whole savings. I think he got up to a Bitcoin or something, and then he lost it all. It's really sad. Let's look here. So again, Saylor did his dilution. I'd say anyone short MicroStrategy or short MSTR, MNAV, long BTC, small multiple, 1.5x long BTC, short MSTR, they're all going to get wrecked. MSTR is stupidly cheap. I agree with Adam Beck. This guy is brilliant. He worked with Satoshi Nakamoto. He's got a PhD in computer science. He is an original cypherpunk and cryptographer. People kept saying he was Satoshi, and he's like, I'm not. He's the inventor of Hashcash used in Bitcoin mining. He's a great dude. He gets MicroStrategy. New chart EPS. So this is from MicroStrategy Tracker. They worked with Punter Jeff to create some of this, and it's just a way. They're creating better tools in here in order to be able to gauge. Like this is Bitcoin EPS, FASB experimental. So this is trying to show what their earnings per share are going to look like once the FASB accounting rules kick in Q1. I think that's brilliant. It's so cool. Yeah, you need to save. And people don't realize this, but guys, the wallet, the hardware wallet does not have any Bitcoin on it. The seed phrase is your key. And so if you lose that or multiple people have access to it, they can spend your Bitcoin. So there's just a lot of stuff to understand here, guys. And again, this was me showing what happened last time and then how there could be at least a breakout to the 500s with MicroStrategy. So could we go lower? Again, could we fill down here in the 280 range? Yes, we could, right? Like we shot up hard here, stopped right about here. Could we go back down? Yes, we could. But what's the next likely path? It's probably going to be a lot higher. So I think that's something I would buy more of on the way down. All right, real quickly, I want to jump over to Tesla. And again, we got more economic data, guys, coming out at 9 in about 19 minutes. We'll cover that in a second. Galley, I love Galley. He's, again, an OG. He's the guy who got me into Tesla back in 2017. I greatly appreciate him for that. He said, I just drove my dad's Rivian R1T. He goes, the thing drives like a boat. My mom's old 1998 Nissan Quest minivan. He goes, after driving the Cybertruck, it felt like going back in time 50 years. No FSD either. So again, there's just no competition out there, guys. When you start to use these things, you just realize there's just nothing. CleanSpark and Iron reached 37 and 31 exahash respectively. Both companies announced today. Cool. Rough day when you got a bunch of miners. Yeah, miners have been sucking. Again, though, I still own like a lot. I don't know exactly what I have, but it's probably close to $1 million in miners. Something like that. Maybe more. I don't know. And we already went over the Tesla update for the holiday special. Here's just some bullshit. This is just Europe. Europe sucks. It says this should be illegal. Union-controlled Swedish power companies are refusing to turn on new superchargers unless Tesla signs a collective bargaining agreement. They're trying to force Tesla as a company to sign a bargaining agreement, and the Tesla employees are wearing vests saying thanks, but we're fine printed on them, as they don't want to unionize. So these guys are like, fuck you, we don't want to unionize, even though this power company employees are threatening to not turn on the power for superchargers. This should be illegal. They should be prosecuted. This is one of the number one reasons why, or just another example why Europe sucks. Europe sucks, guys. The regulation and the stupidity are going to kill you guys. Have I seen the PayPal news? Seems to have affected the share price slightly. No, it hasn't. I don't care about the honey thing, guys. I know everybody's like talking about it. I watched the video. I don't think it fucking matters at all. At all. And let's just look at PayPal. Let's see how devastated PayPal's being today. So it's down 0.58%. I would argue that the last couple of days were a lot worse than today. So I don't care about this. This is just not a news event to me. It's not. And I don't know why anybody else cares. I think it's popular to care for some reason because people watched a YouTube video. Are they underpaid or unsafe work conditions? No need to unionize. No, they're so happy. They don't want to unionize because they know Tesla is better without a union, and they know their stock alone is making them rich. They don't want to unionize. They don't want to destroy it. All right, guys, I did want to talk about this. So the Model Ys have sold out in China, but I also want you guys to understand China is not doing well. China is the weaker part of Tesla's business right now, and you can see this by comparing 2023 to 2024. Whether it's produced, wholesale, retail, or export, look at China. 2023 for produced, 949,736. So far in 2024, 829,659. So when you look at it, it's just been on and off throughout the quarters. It's been a rougher quarter for Tesla. And so they need to get 120,000 cars produced in December, which is double what they did in June, in order to be able to surpass the previous 2023 year in China. So everybody wants to believe that China's doing well, or they're going to bounce and everything's going to be all right. They're just not, guys. China sucks. China's a really shit place to be in right now. If you live in the country or invest in it, I would get the fuck out. But China's a drag on Tesla right now. They're not the key thing making it better. Also, all the bullshit about if you get somebody talking about recalls for Tesla, just send them this. It says the total number of potentially affected vehicles in the U.S. in 2024 that were told to visit a service center due to a recall. Again, Tesla has to produce recall notifications. Yeah, Europe sucks too. It's not surprising. So MB says Tesla production in Berlin is down 23% as well, unfortunately. Well, that's because Europe and China both suck. We've looked at all the data, right? We've looked at their economies. They're garbage. So that's why America and other parts of the world are why Tesla is succeeding. It's not Europe or China. But yeah, so look at this. Look at this. So this shows recalls where you actually have to go to a service center. Look at this. FCA 4.8 million. Ford 4.3 million, Honda 3.8 million, GM 1.8 million, BMW 1.8 million, Toyota 1.2 million, Kia 1.2, Hyundai 1.1, VW 1.1, Mercedes 409. Where's Tesla? 39,000. 39,000. So maybe not as big of a deal with Tesla in regard to recalls. Also, getting ready for a huge increase in production capacity in 2025 at Giga Texas. We see some large deliveries and stockpiles of production line equipment arriving daily now. As I showed in my December 18th video, a whole new floor has been constructed inside the factory. So just look at this, guys. Look at the amount of goods sitting off to the sidelines here, waiting to come in to the Tesla factory to help them increase production in the United States. Again, the incentives are to produce in the United States. That's what Tesla's going to do. It's very positive. Let's keep going. Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler had too many to count. Yeah, I believe that. So let's keep going down. But again, in China, there's a lot of good incentives, and you can see. So you can see here that they're busy. Look at all these people in these factories or in this sales room. God, Chinese, I don't know why they do this with like horrible music to these things. It's just not good. The son of the walkie. breaking Tesla engineers say wide release of FSD version 13 is coming. So this is including again the holiday update. It feels like a personal robotaxi. It really does, guys. It's so good. Elon Musk said it was pure magic and said that it'll blow your mind. It is. It is. That's not an understatement. That's very, very real. Roland said Tesla Model Y is the second best selling car in China in the year to date out of 725 different models. So again, a good year for Tesla in regard to the sales of their car. The thing is that the BYD Quinn Plus or whatever, I don't know how they pronounce it over there. That is such a cheap ass fucking car. There's really no competition. And again, on that, here we go. Here's Amit's post. It says, well, now we know why Elon Musk just followed Palantir's main account on X. Let's frickin' go. So this says Palantir and Anduril are reportedly in talks with companies like SpaceX and OpenAI and more to form a group that would jointly bid for government contracts. So we've got some of the biggest, baddest tech and AI companies on the planet that are right now working to basically form a group to compete against all these other, military companies and help be the producers in the future. They're taking over. They're basically taking over the Department of Government Efficiency, Palantir, and all Anduril, SpaceX, all these things. They're taking over. I don't know, OpenAI. I don't want them to be a part of it. But this right here, too, guys. This is showing the weather app. Look at this. I can see the weather in my car while I'm driving. It's just amazing. And Starlink, again, Starlink availability, guys. Just look at this. USA, Puerto Rico, look at all these places. 2021 was a huge year. 2022 was a huge year. 2023 was a huge year. 2024, I don't know how many countries this is, if anybody can count, but there is so much going on. Starlink is just fucking huge. It's crazy. According to Chinese media, the Tesla upgraded Model Y Juniper is expected to feature the following enhancements: front LED light bar, streamlined design, grille-less front design, large 15.4 tilting screen with 2.5K resolution. So better resolution, brighter screen, larger screen, cooler car, newly developed 4th generation drivetrain units. There's just no competition with Tesla, guys. And again, you can see them already testing out this Model Y Juniper. I think this is in Texas. Let's just keep going down here. Welcome to the group chat for Earth. Total active users on X is 1 billion. This platform is group chat for Earth. It will be. Senator Elizabeth Warren talking. We already looked at this one, but essentially, again, Tesla's taken over, guys. Let's look over here. We're going to look at some other indicators here too. So let me go over to the watch list again and just see how things are sitting. So the VIX is up. Again, the Santa Claus rally feels kind of closed for me. AMD's up. So I wish I wouldn't have sold that. I wish I would have kept that a few more days. It's up 3.78%. This is a little delayed here. Bitcoin is dropping. We can see that in the bottom corner. Again, I don't mind if it tests down over here. Let's pull up Bitcoin again real quick. I think it's kind of doing what I want to see. Yeah, it's testing. So let's just move this to the daily. So it's testing down to the 50. Could it wick down and go lower? Yes. I think that's very possible. But if we start to see a grind along here where we're finding support on previous resistance on this trend line where we found support over here, this could end up being a good thing and indicate more further price side or upside price action. I will say this, though. If we do get down, guys, to like 91K, if we get down to 91K, probably a decent chance that we're breaking underneath of it. So just keep that in mind. And again, we've got the 100 moving average at 79, and then we've got like a huge peak in volume at 76. So I wouldn't expect it to go any lower than that. That would be like a 28-29% drop from the top over here. It wouldn't be unheard of. But it would be a large drop, a huge flush. I can't imagine it going this low. I just can't, because I think there's going to be too many buyers. Now, could it though, with global liquidity getting slower? Yes. And that's what we're going to talk about next. And I don't do this very often, but you guys are going to get a sneak peek into Michael Howell's work. And I don't know if he's going to appreciate this. Hopefully I don't get kicked out of his group, but I do want to show this because I believe it's timely and it's important. I want you to hear his thoughts on global liquidity and how it's been rolling over. You can see some of that right here, MSCI World Equities rolling over, and then he shows the latest cycle. But I want you to hear his thoughts, and he says it's entitled "Dancing Near the Floor." And again, I probably won't do this again, but I do want us to talk about global liquidity and its impact, because we've been seeing a downward trend now for like a couple of months, and so I want to talk to it real quick.
After another year of decent investment gains, some perspective is always helpful. Let's start with world stocks and consider the following chart, which compares this bull market to the average 1970 to 2020 cycle, rebased to current levels. The current cycle tracks closely. On average, we should be close to the end of this bull run. The clouds are gathering, but our indicators are not definitively risk-off yet. For now, global liquidity is supportive as confirmed by the Bitcoin price, which has been a highly sensitive liquidity barometer. The next chart updates the relationship between the 6-week change in the Bitcoin price and the same change in global liquidity advanced by 13 weeks. The data...
So real quickly, he's talking about right here, guys. And so what he's saying is global liquidity has been dropping, and you can see it here in black. And he's showing how the Bitcoin price is starting to roll over. So what he's saying is we could see some downside price action in Bitcoin as this is happening. So just keep that in mind.
Warn that global liquidity...
And again, he offsets this by 13 weeks to show the trend, and it lines up really good. Like, it's not always the way. Like, if you look over here, the GLI, global liquidity, you didn't see a huge bounce in Bitcoin over here. So sometimes it doesn't track perfectly, but it really does track pretty decently.
Is becoming choppy and losing momentum. Bitcoin's movements may be confirming this, and looking ahead, it is hard to envision where the next major liquidity impetus comes from. The U.S. Fed wanted everyone to know that the December FOMC meeting was hawkish, admittedly.
And so he's probably going to talk to this in a second, but I do want to show, so originally at the beginning of this, guys, I showed how we were in a bearish divergence for the S&P that started back over in March of this year. That you see that in Bitcoin, you see it in a lot of the miners, you see it in all this stuff, right? But the S&P has actually tracked really good and went up a lot since that divergence started right about over here. And again in March, so it pretty much went straight up. And so it could settle right now. We could see a drop. It's just really important to realize that there's both positive and negative starting the new year. And so, again, expect maybe some downside price action across a lot of the market. I think you'd have to be a little crazy not to believe that some of that can happen. When you make tons of money all the time, eventually some of that gets taken away.
This is a tricky label when their forward guidance still points to future rate cuts, albeit 50 BP fewer than before. Yet, Powell's presser did hint that the Fed's pending new policy framework will be asymmetric and so deny any future inflation overshoots. On top, they have been worrying negligent about the future balance sheet size and composition, not least given that the RRP reverse repo facility is virtually empty and the building tensions in repo markets, evidenced by the fact that 25% of all spikes in SOFR, Fed funds repo spreads in 2024 have occurred in the last 37 trading days. This silence contrasts with Treasury, who now forward guide investors about future issuance plans several months ahead. Fiscal and monetary policy are joined at the hip, but somehow the Fed cannot acknowledge this. Consider the combined impact of Fed and Treasury liquidity stimulus through what we have flippantly called non-QE, QE, and not YCC, YCC in the following chart. Again,
this is a lot of acronyms and a lot of really heavy stuff. I'll try and help with some of it in a little bit here.
And the data show that the impetus of this hidden $6 trillion pre-election liquidity boost is now fading.
Which is the scary part, right? So again, this not QE, QE, and not YCC, yield curve control is what that means. Yield curve control. So what they're saying is we had a lot of liquidity. You could see this by like early 2022. You could see this curving up, and you could see that we were kind of down at the bottoms of it. And so again, this is what made me so much money in 2023, guys, is seeing that liquidity was rising. This guy right here is one of the key reasons I made 600% in 2023. So when he's telling you that, it's been trending down for most of the year and we've got these bearish divergences, I think you should listen to it.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen cleverly switched the tenor of us funding towards shorter dated securities, effectively telling the bond vigilantes, you don't like my coupons, well, have these bills instead. And more. Banks lap them up. Incoming Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent now faces the challenge of refinancing some 30% of the U.S. government's $28 trillion of marketable.
So real quickly, so what he's talking about here is it's like, okay, well, the Treasury has been issuing shorter dated securities, again, because they don't want to have like 10, 20, and 30-year contracts where they've got to pay back high amounts of interest, with the interest rates being as high as they are. So, and what he's saying is that we've got this issue where we've got to refinance 30% of U.S. government debt, $28 trillion in debt. So like almost $10 trillion, like let's say $8 trillion in debt, that needs to be refinanced here in 2025, which is a huge amount of money. So what we need to see the 10-year and some of these others start to come down, if they're going to be able to refinance that debt, because they're doing all the shorter dated stuff to pay the bills, but eventually they're probably going to have to issue some longer dated securities or treasuries where we're doing the 10 and 20, 30 years or some of these longer dated things in order to be able to fund all this debt. So we want to see rates come down this next year. We want to see that 10-year come down this next year. And if we look at it, it hasn't really done that. If we go back over, let's look real quickly. I think I have the 2-year loaded, but we'll look at the 10 too. So you can see how the 2 year is broken up. I was thinking this was going down. It is not happening. It still needs to. So we need to see this thing rock back down. This is just the 2 year. But if we look at the 10-year, it's probably even more pronounced to the upside than this. And so, yeah, we've actually broken through this line that I created that was the resistance zone, based upon previous history over here. So again, there's like support, resistance, support. And now we're breaking above this again. We want to see this reject and we want to see it go lower, because as time goes on, we want, and again, there's this bearish divergence on the yield for the 10-year that's been going back to April of 2022. So I still think what's probably going to happen is a rollover in these 10 years. But if we don't get that, it's going to be very problematic for the U.S. government to refinance their debt, $8 trillion. Who's going to buy it? What's going to happen to the yield at the long end of the curve, which is like, again, the 10, 20, and 30 years. And then if you have to issue too much debt to be able to cover all this debt, then you can have really bad things happen in 2025. Near the end of the year, probably in the latter part of the year, where you're going to see this become a major concern. So I want to put this out there because it's not just all sunshine and rainbows in this world. I do think there's fundamentals that are looking really great, but debt is a major concern for the United States. And I do believe in late January, I hope we'll see the PBOC, the People's Bank of China, start providing some liquidity. But let's listen to the rest of this here. I'm trying to just give you some highlights because, again, so many acronyms, it's confusing.
Dancing near the door. An end-year perspective on 2025. After another year of decent investment gains, some perspective is always helpful. Let's start with world stocks and consider the following chart, which compares this bull market to the average 1970 to 2020 cycle, rebased to current levels. The current cycle tracks closely. On average, we should be close to the end of this bull run. The clouds are gathering, but our indicators are not definitively risk-off yet. For now, global liquidity is supportive as confirmed by the Bitcoin price, which has been a highly sensitive...
Oh, so real quickly down here too, and it's getting closer to it. I lost the tracking on that for some reason, but you can see over here, this says open market operations. This is the People's Bank of China. And so everybody's been talking about how there needs to be liquidity injections and how China's going to start pumping the market. None of that's been happening. And if you look here, you'll see that GDP momentum for China, and their GDP is a complete lie. I think it's actually probably trending down as this orange line. I think this little spike you saw is probably bullshit. It's probably going down and down dramatically. But you can see where the injections, liquidity injections, have fallen off a cliff and are very, very negative. This is the 0 point. It's like negative 0.3 right now. So we're not seeing liquidity in China, guys. And some of the comments from Xi and some of the other people that are higher up in the economic side of China and the People's Bank of China have made it sound like they're going to support the bond market, but maybe not the rest of the market. At least that's what's been implied. So it's not great. It's not great.
Liquidity barometer. The next chart updates the relationship between the 6-week change in the Bitcoin price and the same change in global liquidity advanced by 13 weeks. The other key central bank to watch is the Chinese...
I'm gonna actually reset this.
People's Bank, PBOC. Hope springs eternal that policymakers will boost the skidding Chinese economy by a sizable amount in 2025. Yet, not only are they doing little so far, aside from words...
Oh, we'll get back to this in a second. We did just get consumer confidence because it's 9 o'clock, guys. Let's jump over to that and refresh. Consumer confidence 104.7, so it's slightly degraded from the 112.4 and the 113 for consensus, so it's a little worse than expected. Oh, and we do have additional stuff. I didn't even see the new home sales. We got that too, so we'll take a look at that. New home sales 0.664 million. We were expecting 0.66 for forecast and 0.65 for consensus, so it's good. We're getting more homes in the market. We like that. New home sales sales. New home sales month over month was 5.9%. They expected 8.2. And I don't care about the Treasury too much. So let's jump back over here and continue to play. Yeah, it started reading from the beginning. You're right. I think it redid it.
But our latest tracking of PBOC money market operations confirm a major ongoing liquidity withdrawal. This is likely driven by the desire to support the weak Chinese yuan against the firming US dollar. The dollar wrecking ball may have further to climb, and not least because the likely policy mix favored by Scott Bessent will be dollar positive, and we figure a strong US unit also gives Trump too a far stronger negotiating hand in foreign deals.
Yeah, so the dollar wrecking ball, this could actually make it to where companies that are foreign based, like even Tesla and others, that have a lot of foreign sales and that aren't focusing a lot on manufacturing in the United States are going to be hurt. So if you have companies that get most of their sales from overseas, the stronger dollar will hurt that in dollar related terms. So you got to remember that. That's painful. Also, we're applying a lot of pressure to China right now. If we look over, let's look at the Chinese yuan versus the dollar. So you can see again, this is the breakout point, guys. The measured move for this just shows that this is the dollar's strength against the yuan. Since 2013, the dollar has been gaining strength. And there was a moment after the pandemic where, again, May of 2020, like something over here, where the yuan started to gain a lot of strength against the dollar because everybody thought it was great to lock people down. And then they realized it wasn't about March of 2022. And then the dollar started gaining strength as they realized China's economy wasn't that good. Well, we're at a breakout point in an ascending triangle where we basically take back all the gains from the yuan against the dollar going back to 2006, so before the great financial crisis, with the measured move that looks like it would be unveiled here. So China's got some danger. If they don't provide liquidity, their economy could fall off a cliff. If they do provide liquidity, their currency could fall off a cliff. This is not good for China, guys. And over the short term, it might not be good for a lot of the U.S. market. So just things to keep an eye on and think about.
The impact of China's renewed monetary squeeze on the world economy is unlikely to be positive given her huge industrial footprint. The next chart tracks PBOC liquidity injections advanced 3 months against a daily nowcast of world GDP growth. The data is sufficiently close to warn us of an potential.
And again, guys, I don't like showing other people's work, so I won't be doing a lot of this in the future, but it's important enough where I want you guys to understand this, and also to understand that Michael Howell, I think I pay $75 a month for his Substack. This thing made me so much money over the last 2 years, millions of dollars. So I'm very happy to pay it. So if somebody's wants to learn a lot about the macro world and see what's coming next from the person who I believe is the most brilliant with global liquidity, this is a great service to sign up for.
Potential economic slowdown and upcoming tensions in commodity markets. Alongside, the U.S. Treasury market is behaving oddly right now. However, it seems to be moving towards a setup which is bearish for the economy, and one last seen in late 2021. Wearing an old Salomon Brothers bond hat, the Devil's Cross configuration between a fading slope 10 seconds less 5 seconds orange line and rising convexity February 5th, 2010 butterfly black may be starting. It is a pattern that government bond traders worry about more than straight curve inversion. Watch this space.
So he's saying the bond market, again, the bond market could be having issues in the future, so this needs to be closely watched. So we'll see what happens with all of this. I think we have so much power in the U.S. economy to be able to control our future. But again, it's just one of those things where we got to look at it from all perspectives.
Further and more important warning comes from the collapsing Chinese bond market. Wall Street is the world's most important stock market, but China's government bonds may be the most important fixed income market.
They're absolutely fucked too. Right down here, guys. If you look at the bond market in China, the 10-year is just, the yields are just falling off a cliff right now because everybody's buying the bonds instead of stocks.
Worldwide, given China's economic size and integration with other.
Yeah, Tesla turned negative on the day. I think our Santa Claus rally is pretty effed.
Economies. This plunge in yields echoes Japan years ago and confirms a punishing debt deflation. The only way out of debt deflation is via a massive monetization, but this comes at the cost of currency devaluation. China is wrestling hard, but will ultimately have to give in. However, the risk is that the world economy is temporarily derailed, and the risk appetite of world investors is suddenly crushed. Good news may be coming in the form of greater global liquidity once policymakers panic, but there could be bad news first. It's rarely a good time to take on more risk when the US dollar wrecking ball is strong. Michael, wait a minute here, was a record scratch moment in this. It is hard to envision where the next major liquidity impetus comes from. There is arguably the most predictable and effective liquidity stimulus straight ahead, the US debt ceiling, hitting in less than 2 weeks, January 2. What about the $800 million that is going to come pouring out of the Treasury General account during the first months of 2025? Even a cursory glance at the Bitcoin chart during the previous 2 debt ceiling events shows massive upside effects. Mike, have you discussed the dynamics of this 10 to 5?
Oh, sorry. This jumped down. This jumped down 2 comments down here, I think. What about the $800 million in the Treasury account? Even the cursory glance at the Bitcoin chart during the 2 previous debt ceiling events shows massive upside effects. Did we get a response from Michael Howell? It will or should come down, agreed. I'm surprised it has not yet started because I thought the rules are that the TGA, the Treasury General Account, returns to normal operating levels, $300 billion before negotiations began, ? The problem is that it will drop, then rebound. So the net impact over, say, a 6 months will only be a few hundred billions. Lack of clarity over the Fed's quantitative tightening policy and the unknown focus on Treasury funding under Besant may potentially add up to trillions. I'm not negative, just uncertain. A year ago, things were more predictable. So what we're hearing from Michael Howell is that he's not as confident about where we are with global liquidity right now. And so, again, it's one of those things where we got potential for people to want to sell in January. Others might be realizing that people want to sell in January. And then we have this downward pressure where we don't know what's happening in China. We've got the Brazilian real collapsing. This is a pretty large economy in Central America. There's just a lot of weirdness going on right now. So I think, guys, there's a reason why I dialed out of 2.3 million or whatever it was in leverage about a week or plus ago. I don't remember when it was. Yeah, I guess it was about a week ago when I was first sick the first time before I started puking yesterday. But yeah, so there's a reason why I dialed out of a massive amount of liquidity, or not liquidity, too many words going through my head, not enough sleep. Dialed out of a lot of leverage because I didn't want the risk. I'd made a ton of money off of Tesla. I pulled that out. The MSTU and MSTX plays, I don't think were good plays. I worry about how devastated they get between the tracking errors and then again just the 2x to the downside. The basically rebalancing is theta decay. They just get crushed. And so outside of CleanSpark, which has it says 327,000, so it's getting crushed today while CleanSpark's down 4%. So outside of CleanSpark, where I have 325,000 in a position that's, an options contract, I have PayPal where it says 401 now. It looks like that's getting obliterated. A lot of options contracts look like they're getting crushed. And then I have a couple 100,000 in this other one. So I'm sitting at less than $1 million right now in options related contracts. And I like that positioning. It looks like Tesla's is actually up 2.3% today on their options contract, which is great. We're still getting a bounce on that one. But I don't know. I don't feel good about having leverage right now, guys. I do think we could have a rocky road at the beginning of the year. I don't know if people are just like counter trading Tom Lee's Santa Claus rally, but I don't think he's going to be right on this one. And maybe it turns around. We got lower volume days ahead of us. We could still get a bounce in all this stuff. But, and I'll probably be buying and going deeper. I might sell my Micron. I might sell my SMCI. I think I probably will. And I already sold, like I said, my Bit Farms and reduced exposure to that. I might buy some more MSTR. We'll see. I'm probably going to wait and see. I'll probably just put in limit orders to buy like around, the sub 300 range if it goes that low, just to where I can get that good price. Because again, I bought that dip pretty hard the other day in the 315 range. So if I'm gonna do more buying on MicroStrategy, I'm probably waiting until the 280s to do that. But I do think just be cautious and have a longer approach. And one of the things I'm going to focus on a lot more, guys, and it might be kind of negative and it might be something that people don't want to think about, but I'm going to focus on China more. I'm going to focus on the Brazilian real and any other currency related issues around the world. I'm going to be focusing on the bond market more. I'm going to be focusing on, again, just everything China and global liquidity. I'm going to be focusing on Michael Howell a lot more. And I can't show you his work all the time because, again, it's proprietary work. He works hard for it. But I did want you guys to know that things are just not as bullish as they were before. And this guy made me rich. He is one of the key reasons I got rich. And so when he shows that PBOC liquidity is falling off a cliff in open market operations, when he shows that the quantitative easing and the yield curve control that were so beneficial to us for the last year and a half have been descending for this last year at a time where we have divergence to the downside for the RSIs, for the S&P, and Bitcoin and all this other stuff. I'm going to take it seriously. And again, I'm not dialing out a lot of stuff. I just took the cash I needed for the beginning of the year to pay off all my cards. Could there be something weird where I don't buy my house in the spring and then I take out 0% offers for 18 months again and take out a couple $100,000 in credit cards if we just get demolished to be able to buy more into the market? Yes. I mean, that's always an opportunity, right? Cheap debt at 2% interest in order to be able to survive and then buy on crazy dips can be an opportunity. So I don't know what's going to happen today. Time is Prison said, doesn't MSTR enter the QQQ today? Yes, they did. I don't get the downward pressure. It's not about the Q joining the QQQ. It's probably about, again, global liquidity concerns. It's probably about China being a fucking disaster. If you guys don't realize this, I posted a video yesterday. You know what? We didn't go over China. Let me just get in here real quick. We need to. Right here. Michael Howell is the person, is cross-border capital. It's this guy right here. So cross-border cap and then Michael Howell. I love him. I think he's great. Again, I made shit tons of money off of him. So make sure you listen to this guy. But he said yields are collapsing in China. Stimulus will have to come big time. And my biggest concern right now is that China doesn't stimulate. If they don't do that, we could just have a really quick rout in the markets. But he put the Chinese bond market is not collapsing. Bond yields are falling sharply, and thus bond prices are surging. It's a very different story. Western bond yields collapsed a few years ago, back as you will remember, and just look at them now. The situation in China is stimulative. So he's saying it's stimulative. We'll see. We'll see if it is. And let me see if I have a post in here. I thought I did it the other day. Oh, maybe I didn't get. There's a YouTube video. I'll try and repost it in a second here. But it just talks about how bad things are getting in China. They have so many systemic issues, guys. Their birth rate is looking like it's going to fall underneath 1. You need 2 in order to be able to keep up with the number of people and basically have it to where the population of your country isn't falling. There's very few really developed countries that are even, like, nobody's even close to that. A lot of them are having this issue, but China has seen a drop that's the largest in the world of any developed nation with their population, and they're looking to drop under 1, which is really, really bad. And then they have, like, for arable land, they have 10% of the arable land, but they've got to feed 20% of the population of the earth. They have, like, these are just a couple of highlights. There's so many. I think their youth unemployment, guys, it hit 21.35% in 2023, and then they stopped reporting on the metric. Ask yourself, if China's doing good and it's getting ready to go up, why have they removed almost 95% of their economic metrics? It's not because they're doing good. It's because they're collapsing and they don't want the world to see it. And again, confidence of foreign CEOs in China slides despite stimulus. Everybody is leaving China, guys. There's a video I had that was really, really great. But I think Trump is handing fig leaves to Xi. Xi needs to stimulate, and he needs to grab those fig leaves if he wants to avoid complete and utter economic collapse. And it's either that or war, and he can't afford a war either. It would mean a mass starvation event for people across China. There's so many things that should keep that from happening. But I think we got to get ready for pain, guys. This first part of the year is going to be pain. And I think you need to be aware of it. I don't think we need to be pessimistic because, again, there's so many positives in what we're seeing in the United States. We're a low taxation environment, cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. We do have the biggest thing. My only fear in the United States is the amount of debt that we need to cycle in 2025. That is a huge number. It's a huge number. I probably won't look at TRAW because I don't even know what that is, John. And I just want to cover the big stuff today because I'm not feeling good. Again, I was puking for 15 hours, coming out both ends of my body. And so I'm not doing really good right now, but I wanted to make sure I was here today because I wanted to get this message out since I wasn't able to really do that last time when I was sick. Scotty says, youth unemployment scares me. That's when governments historically send them to war instead of revolting at home. Yes, but I would argue, I don't know, everything I look at, I don't think China's ready for war. China's removed 2.3 million CCP members that they've ghosted or murdered. And they murdered them. They put them to death for corruption. But in the last, since Xi took power, they've killed or imprisoned or disappeared 2.3 million CCP members. Some of these guys are like literally the people running the rocket force. They found that rockets had water in them instead of fuel. There's so much corruption in China. People don't seem to know what China is, and they seem to think that I have some hatred towards China. I actually love China. I hate the CCP, but I try not to let that influence my thesis about what's happening in that region because I need to know whether or not we can win a war, right? I need to know whether it's advantageous for them to start one. So there's so much that you have to know. But China's in a world of hurt. Their youth unemployment, again, 21.35 or whatever it was in 2023. I think it's closer to 25% now from what I've seen. Hardworking people. I'll share that video here in a little bit, guys, that haven't gotten paid in 4 to 8 months. Some people haven't gotten paid in a year. Can you imagine trying to survive? They have this thing where it's like you're supposed to get severance from Chinese companies, but a lot of them, they just literally don't declare that they failed or go bankrupt. And that way they don't have to pay people severance and they just let them quit. They basically just stop paying them. And then if you quit, you don't get severance. So, and the Chinese government doesn't do anything to fix this. So basically people have to leave the companies because they're not getting paid. And if they leave the company, they don't get paid. And then there's nobody that will hire them because there's no jobs in China. China is really, really bad. Here's the good thing though. I think they only consume about 10% of, or their consumption is like 10% of the world's, which is a much lower number than the United States. The United States is massive. And there's this comment about how if the United States sneezes, the world catches a cold. I don't think that same thing has to happen with China. I've been saying this forever, but I think China's demise can actually be beneficial to other countries around them and the United States. I've been saying this for almost 2 years, and I think it still holds true. I think that they're going to bleed. I think there's a chance of war. I think there's some negative things. But the United States, just again, look at this. Outside of us having to refinance a bunch of debt, like 30% of our debt over the next year, and really that's going to be a bigger thing in the latter parts of 2025, roughly $8 trillion. That could be risky. But if the United States has cut its expenses, if the United States has, been effective with Department of Government Efficiency, if we've been expanding, if we're pro-growth, if we're doing all the things that Donald Trump is doing, we're trying to pull manufacturing into this country, making it to where we're the safe haven for the world, I can see the United States being a beacon of hope, and I can see our yields in our 10-year dropping in the months and quarters ahead. As people want to buy our debt because we're a strategic Bitcoin reserve and we've done all the things to make it to where we're more sustainable. Pray you're right about war. Yeah, I hope war doesn't happen, but war is actually really beneficial to markets. If you look back historically, there's an initial jolt where markets drop. You could look at the Ukraine-Russia invasion, but then it was also huge It's a moneymaker, right? So war is actually a great time for markets historically. You can go back to World War I, World War II. You can look at all markets. It's a revenue generator. So I don't want war because I don't want an apocalypse, but it's definitely one of those things where I don't know. You don't want rose-colored glasses, but you also don't want to assume the worst of everything that's happening, guys. I think that the U.S. is set up so well right now, and I think that between AI, robotics, autonomy, again, government efficiency, pro-growth, lower taxation, pulling manufacturing back into the United States, keep preventing the bleed of just having crazy amounts of people flowing into this country illegally. We're doing so many things right now, and the West seems to be turning that way. So I think our golden age is still very much in front of us, and I hope that Xi grabs the fig leaf. It's either that, or I think the most likely outcomes are honestly him being overthrown and killed, even though he's murdered and ghosted so many people. I don't even know how close you can get to him anymore. But I think, or some massive uprising in the country. We're not at the breaking point yet. And I haven't been a person who's called for a breaking point. 2025 will be the breaking point for China. I've never said that before. I've never given a year like on when China will fall, or when Xi will fall, or when we will go to war. But I think it's going to be 2025 to the beginning of 2026. I think it's inevitable. I think the collision is headed that way. Xi always told people to be prepared for war with Taiwan by 2027, but you'd think, he'd want to invade before the date that he told everybody he was going to invade. And right now, Palantir, Anduril, all these defense tech companies, thank you, KTOS, Justin says, is another defense play. I'll look at that one and check it out too. I do think defense plays are something that we want to look at in the future, but I think that all of these are, again, I think the most likely scenarios. Not quite sure where I was in my thoughts. Again, I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I think that the end of the world is most likely not going to come. We're not going to make money if the end of the world does happen. So I think we need to position ourselves for America being the greatest country in the world. That's the path we're headed down right now. As long as Trump can do what he needs to do in the first half of this year, in Q1 and Q2. And I think those are the things that are going to happen with Elon's support. Again, guys, you got to realize this. Even from like a military standpoint, Starlink has over 7,000 low Earth orbit satellites that have lasers on them for communication. There could be defensive things that are in there. We know that Starlink is contracted with the DoD. So there could be all kinds of stuff we don't know about with Starlink that it's capable of doing. And so you have that where even if GPS satellites were taken out, we'd still have Starlink, and there'd be no way for China to fight that. They just can't win in that war. We could take out their version of GPS really quickly, but they couldn't take out our ability to be able to know with very great accuracy what is going on around the world. So there's just, and that's just one aspect. There's so many others. People try and make it look like robotics are really powerful in China. They're just not. They're not. And so again, I'm going to share more videos and talk to things like that. Probably delve into the defense sector more, because I think some defense-related stocks, if we can find the good ones, guys, not just Palantir, there's probably many others out there that are interesting. I think that they're going to be good opportunities. You said CleanSpark is down 6%. It's tempting to buy it. Yeah, maybe. I'm probably going to wait. It is tempting to buy, but maybe if we keep dropping, it's going to be more tempting to buy. And if you dial into things, or at least what I'm doing, since this isn't financial advice, I'm going to be dialing in really slowly to any buys that I do. Lim Jingyun says, honestly, the chance of an uprising in China seems super unlikely. Have been in China for the past month, and the vibes still feel good. People seem pretty happy and have barely seen any. Yeah, if you're in a first-tier city, you can get that vibe. If you're going to like all the places where everybody else normally goes, you can get that vibe. But China is collapsing behind the scenes. So I'm going to completely disagree with you. The homeless people, China has almost 400 million migrant workers who don't have the same rights as people in the cities that they're in. They can't even have their kids go to school there. They don't get any social programs. They don't have any benefits. They have to pay for their own medical care. They're losing their jobs. They're being pushed back to the fields to work. They're giving up on opportunity like crazy. You might get the vibe from some people that things are good in a first-tier city where that's like, if you look at YouTube videos, China sponsors so many Western YouTubers in order to be able to paint an image of success to the rest of the world. But that in no way is fundamentally what is happening there. And again, I'm going to try and highlight more of that in the future. Unfortunately, those videos, negative videos about China, do not do well. I don't know why. It's just one of those things where they don't. And I don't know if that's some kind of suppression with YouTube. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you this. A Western white dude or somebody from the West speaking English promoting China, you can find those a dime a dozen, and they'll have the most massive amount of viewership behind them because that's the image that the Chinese government wants to get out there. So that much I can tell you. I've researched China for over half a decade in depth and spent probably well over 1,000 hours on the subject. So I feel pretty strongly about my view on it. Lim Jingyun, not sure about the working community though. Don't interact with them much. Yeah, I think it's the bottom rung that's really getting devastated right now. Again, China's removed 95% of their economic data for a reason, Lim. Daisy, I slept in and now I missed my news. Ha. Everything down but semiconductors on the run. Pair trades in process. AMD earnings January 2028. QQQ and other ETFs just redid their holdings, and AMD is still included as their 7th holding. So not to worry, kids. Yeah, AMD is still doing good, up 4.6%. But again, if we have like weird export issues with China, I don't know how much of their revenue is international and how much it would be impacted. Nubank is something I can't even, like, I'm not excited about Nubank. Because they do so much work in Brazil, guys. And Brazil is just such a nasty place to be in right now. If the Brazilian real ends up collapsing, Nu is not going to be the thing you want to be invested in. So here's where Nu went, right? Like, it was just on such a perfect trajectory higher. This right here is a horrific looking chart. If it gets down to 970 on Nu, this is like a reverse. This is like a descending triangle, but in backwards. Again, it just all depends on what happens with the Brazilian real. I'll probably have to start covering that one too, but it looks ugly. Countries that are affiliated with China are not doing well. I don't know if you guys have known this, but Russia isn't doing well. Syria just collapsed. Iran is not doing well. And Brazil, another part of BRICS, is not doing well. The whole BRICS thing is a fucking joke. And if you're associated with them, you're probably falling with them. So outside of India, India is probably one of the economies that'll benefit a lot, and a few others. But again, I'm still sick, so I'm probably going to chill. Tomorrow's a half day, guys. I probably will still at least do a video tomorrow. But it's a half day, so we'll be done by 12 tomorrow. And then it's the holiday. If I don't see any of you, so Mike says, I'm really worried China might drag us all a bit in the economy in 2025. I'm not as worried about that, but I get it, man. I get it. Like, that again, if they consume 10%, international companies that are dependent upon Chinese sales for goods, they're going to suck. They're going to suck. They're going to suck really bad. Luckily, Tesla doesn't really have a lot of impact with that, so I'm not as worried. And then full self-driving with Tesla is just simply amazing. So it looks like I'm still sitting on almost $2.1 million in Tesla. I love that. And again, so my plan, guys, right now, I did sell all the Bit farms because I just wanted to pay off those credit card debts at the beginning of the year. I did end up selling to SMCI and MU today. Just about flat on the day between the two of them. Micron was down, SMCI was up, so that's another $75K in cash. And I probably won't touch DLO. I don't know. I think it's just going to turn to dust either way. I've got too many contracts to sell on it anyway. So I think I'm not going to be buying today probably. If MicroStrategy goes sub 300, I'll look at buying more when that daily gap closes. I'll probably devote all the extra money to that. And again, I've got $1.7 million in Tesla shares right now. If for some reason Tesla drops, I don't think that's going to happen. But if it did, I would sell the shares slowly and buy my calls. And again, I'm not getting crazy with the calls. I'm still doing the 330s. They're in the money. People are asking me, why would you buy in the money? Why wouldn't you go out of the money? It's because I'm worried about the world. That's why. So that's why I'm not going out of the money. But I do have strong belief in Tesla's ability to perform in the next year and a half. So I hope all this makes sense. Lim Jing Yun, I think India quality of life is way worse than China. It is, but that's the great opportunity for them, right? India has much cheaper labor now than China. China's labor labor costs have just went up exponentially, especially for like qualified, like really high end labor. They've been getting crushed, and so it's one of those things where India just offers a lot more opportunity than China does now. They've got the largest population on Earth, and so why wouldn't you invest in India, especially when they're more closely aligned with Western values and not threatening to invade the largest chip manufacturer on the planet and democracy sitting next to them. People are deleveraging from China. I think India can be the new China. I don't want to call it the new China. The new China could be like a bunch of other Southeast Asian nations, and India and Argentina and, El Salvador and a bunch of other places that are embracing democracy and capitalism and meritocracy. Again, guys, China did so well because it embraced the West and we gave them all of our money. And they work really, really hard. They're great people that live there. They saw what hard work and success could bring opportunity. And so a lot of people worked really hard. Yeah, Vietnam, another great place that could be the new China. I think the new China is a combination of a bunch of other countries, but the deleveraging that's going to come from China isn't going to stop anytime soon. If Xi is still remaining on the path he's on, it's only going to build up. It's not going to end. And so it's one of those things where it's kind of set in stone, and it's only going to accelerate. The demise will only accelerate as we get closer to the potential for war. So unless we see major changes between the United States and China in our relationship, it's going to get worse. It's going to get so much worse. So anyway, I think I'm going to end on that note. Isn't that a great place to end? The one thing I will say about new, though, new is if you look over here, it's actually hitting the oversold conditions on the RSI of 30 or getting close to it. So if we get, I don't know, if it gets to like 8, 9, like low 9s, then it might be something that's interesting, but it won't be if Brazil is collapsing. And I don't know if it's not. So I'm going to be doing a bunch of research in Brazil too. But anyway, I love you guys. I'm sorry to end on such a damper note, but I also want to point out all the good in the world, and I want to point out all the bad, and then I want to make sure that, again, we've done really well. Why not focus on the really great companies? Tesla's going to be amazing. Bitcoin's going to be amazing. Even if we have a major fall in January, guys, it just means that we're going to have to be looser on policy going forward, because any fall in the United States economy is going to make it, I mean, the world would be much worse. And we're already seeing easing conditions. We're seeing the lowering of rates around the world. China's going to be going to zero, I think, eventually here soon. And so we'll see stimulative. We'd see a melt up. Melt up is still my most likely scenario by a large margin. And so we could get a hiccup, but we're going to melt up before we melt down. That's my take. Anyway, I love you guys. Probably going to call it right here. Went a little longer than I expected to go, and my throat is killing me. I'm hiding behind my mic. I'm not very presentable today. Anyway, again, just have faith in America. Be positive about our ability to be able to deal with all these problems. I think the Trump presidency is still an amazing plus for what's going on in our world right now. And I'm still bullish as fuck on Tesla and Bitcoin. So none of that's changed. Anyway, I love you guys. You have a good rest of your day, okay? And take it easy. Sorry to be such a downer today. Peace out.